Lives Matter. I think that's, like you were saying, it's obvious. Like United States first. To me, that's like obvious. But again, the organization is what I was against because, again, in your words, it was corrupt. But the whole nationalist thing, I feel like in today's world, it's always like, oh, Stalin and Hitler were nationalists, but like,
Hmm.
again, they were isolationists, nationalists, fundamentalists, extremists, and I think that at least what I represent, I could speak for myself. I'm not here to hold water for any particular group. I could speak to my own beliefs. And as far as like, hey, I'm an American first nationalist, what I mean is, heck yes, let's get people from other cultures and religions as long as they're a net positive for the United States, meaning like, hey, we're in need of this. So these people have this, let's bring them in. I also do think that people from repugnant cultures or cultures that don't align with ours, for instance, if we took like, I don't know, if there was like IRA members in Ireland, terrorists, and they had like bricklaying skills and we needed bricklayers, I think we should also look into like, hey, okay, they're bricklayers, but they're Irish Republican, they're terrorists. So I think that um, today's Republican Party and conservatives, I don't think they're Hitler-esque. Of course, on either ends, there are extremists on either ends, but like blue collar, just working liberals and Republicans, I don't think they support Hitler-esque policies in today's world.
I'm not
At least
saying
not
I'm
the
commenting
people
on
I talk to.
nationalism in general. So like nationalism would be a superiority complex, and like Hitler was not isolationist in terms of he would not expand the nation of Germany. He was anti-trade and anti-globalism and anti-multiculturalism, which J.D. Vance is very anti-multiculturalism and very anti-globalism. He talks about it all the time. But Hitler also
Multiculturalism is what? Could you define that in the terms that you're speaking
basically,
of?
they think immigration is the number one issue at all times. They think that cultures should not mix. Elon Musk says this a lot, that cultures should not mix because then you lose your national identity. So nationalism and race and whatever you identify as and Christian nationalism would say in America that the Protestant ethic and Christian nationalism in America right now is definitely tied to what the KKK did believe. Not in terms of how radical it is, and you could argue that like KKK were the actual terrorists of it, that were like militant, and we had to actually do like a military operation to get rid of them under I'm pretty sure like President Grant. But like the underlying beliefs that they are superior
Ulysses S.
and everything they
Grant, the
do.
Republican, right? Because KKK was founded by Southern Democrats after the Civil War was
Yeah,
ended.
and then once Democrats took the side of the civil rights movement, all the KKK switched to Republican because Republicans were anti-civil rights after that.
The Great Switch myth. It's a myth. The South didn't go majority Republican until after the Civil Rights Movement, and that's not an
No,
opinion.
but the
That's a fact.
KKK left Democrats after Democrats were pro-civil rights, right? Because that would have made sense because they were anti-civil rights,
Democrats
obviously.
Democrats weren't pro civil rights. The Republicans were the ones that voted for the civil rights movement.
Throughout the
Every
60s, 70s, and
Republican,
80s, okay, throughout the actual divergence, the KKK switched to, and skinheads switched to being Republicans after being Democrats because the party switched.
yeah,
That's very,
it's
yeah.
kind of like saying you like the Mets and a KKK guy wears a Mets hat, so now all Mets players are Nazis. It's like, so they had repugnant beliefs and institutions, and they voted for. But again, they're a fringe extremist, and they've literally there's like no white supremacists left, and it's kind of like, oh, they're the white supremacy is the most dangerous thing in the country. I'm
It's more
pretty sure.
complicated now. It's much more complicated. So you could be a supremacist, but it doesn't need to be a long race. So like JD Vance is definitely a supremacist, but I don't think he's a white supremacist. I think he's an elitist and a technocrat, not a technocrat, a technologist or something like that. Technocracy. He believes there are peasants in society and leaders, and the leaders should control society. He's anti-democracy and anti like constitution and everything, just like his funder
Where
Peter
was
Gill is.
where was that belief? Like, where does that belief of his come out?
Well, look up Peter Thiel. Okay, Peter Thiel funded
I know
JD
Peter.
Vance's
I
entire
know Peter too.
career, and Peter Thiel is against
Yeah.
republics, against constitutions. He's against democracy in general. He's done many interviews about this. He thinks the
Isn't
world
he
should be corporate
BlackRock?
states. He has the AI company they use for military targeting and facial recognition, and he's signing contracts with the U.S. government right now to track us. So that's really fun. But yeah, JD Vance, there's a reason that we speak. Our government right now speaks very nicely about Russia and Hungary and El Salvador. Like JD Vance will not shut up about those countries, but he also hates Europe. He hates Europe. He hates Canada, but he loves El Salvador and Hungary and Russia.
Well, the thing about
Yeah,
them is they've kind of come to they're having their own cultural revolution where Europe, in my opinion, has failed in many ways culturally with the mass immigration they're accepting, and they are kind of changing the foundation of their culture. And financially, I think there's a lot of things wrong with Europe and Canada and Australia, and I would say the anti freedom of speech. They do not have freedom of speech, and they've actually not only never had it, they're making it worse for people that speak out. So people are arrested for jokes, and these are first world countries.
in America right now, if you're on a green card, they jail you for Palestinian, like being pro-Palestine, saying anything anti-Israel. We have a facial recognition technology on our on websites right now tracking anyone who's anti-Israel. So and the U.S. government is aligning with Israel on that position and using the police state to crack down on people for having thought that they view as un-American, saying that they're sympathetic with terrorists. You might as well be a terrorist. They can't legally do it yet, but they've defied the law a lot. But just with Europe, really quick, Europeans live on average like 6 or 7 years longer than Americans. They're much happier than we are. The homicide rate in Europe is still 1/3 of what ours is. Their violent crime rate is like 1/5 of what ours is. Europe is a thriving society compared to America. Even with their cultural challenges, they have done way better than America has done. And the fact that JD Vance wants to become El Salvador and Russia and Hungary and move away from the general population of Europe is really stupid. It's insanely stupid. It's because he's an authoritarian. He does not like democracies. Because those countries have
Well,
okay. By the way, how the hell does JD Vance get to give all this credit and all this love to Hungary and El Salvador, dictatorships and illiberal democracies where they're allowed to do whatever the hell they want, cracking down on people? Dictatorships or close to dictatorships. How can he give so much praise to those countries, never mentioning free speech once? Literal dictatorships. Meanwhile, when he talks about Europe, that is tyranny. Why does JD Vance skirt over Hungary and El Salvador when he does that? He gives them a bunch of credit.
I mean, like, I don't, I'm not here to defend JD Vance. Like I said, I'm here to just speak about what I believe, but I think that Hungary has some great things going for them, and they have some terrible things going for them. I think Europe has some great things going for them and some terrible things going for them.
Everything about Europe is better than
Uh,
the U.S. right now. Every single metric, every single quality of life, every happiness metric, like they are doing better than us. So if it's going terrible for them, then we are doing a lot worse, and we're going in the wrong direction right now. And
well,
companies are
they're financially not doing as good, and also you have to understand they have a lot of comforts because of what the United States offers through NATO funding and military funding and guarantees and things of that
Yeah, and
nature.
we have a lot
So,
of comfort from alliances with them as well, in Canada and Mexico and all the countries we've screwed over. So we have a lot of comfortability. We're going to lose if we cut from them as well. I don't think Americans
we
understand that
screwed
part.
over Canada and Mexico. How in the trade
We have
war thing
forced,
that's
okay,
going
we have
on?
been the most powerful country in the world since the end of World War II. Okay,
Yeah,
we
since
have
the New
shifted the
World
entire
Order,
world to
right?
benefit us. There's a reason we have been the richest country of all time. We have dominated the world. We have made the world we wanted to see. Okay, we have pushed countries into directions to fit our needs. That's why Americans are able to consume so much, and we have so much, cheap products coming to us, and we have such a robust military. We're able to control the flow of everything globally, or we have been able to before rising China.
Yeah, through
But
like
yeah.
the CIA and funding coups
Okay, I don't
across the world, and
even past that. The idea that we're getting screwed over by these small countries is that shows how nationalism. Another reason I think nationalism is stupid because it's unable to think. It's why I'm against socialism too and communism because I think nationalism, socialism, communism are all radical ideologies that can't work,
yeah, but
and they're violent.
socialism, like, okay, we're socialists is a bad idea, but having some social safety nets is a good idea.
Oh, I mean
Being
like
completely
socialist. I mean social safety nets is like a
isolationist,
social democracy. That's not socialism, but the words don't matter. Americans think
but
socialism is like I don't even know.
well, I'm just saying, like being nationalist, right? Being full bore nationalist is stupid, but having some nationalist ideas while still participating in trade, while still, having soft power across the world is good. Going full bore nationalism is stupid. So I think a balance of all. Now, one thing that's interesting to me is it of your opinion that, like, I'm going to call it mass immigration, and just definitionally just a large group of people from all over the world coming across our border, legally or illegally. Do you think that's a net benefit, like what happened under the Biden administration? So when you saw under Trump, the immigration rate kind of, low, not as low it is now, and then Biden got in office and he undid a lot of the a lot of the immigration laws, so people started flooding into this country. Do you think that was a benefit for America? And if so, can I know why? Bless you.
One of the big issues with
Sorry, I'm burping my baby right now.
no worries. One of the big issues with the numbers is that the immigration surge came as a result of COVID and other economies recovering very slowly. So people coming here for opportunity. We needed the workers. We had a very tight labor market.
That's why they were geared to come here.
That's why so many people came here, because the entire global economy crashed. So the very small weak countries.
That might be the why they.
But that's why we had the big surge from COVID, because we would have saw a big surge in other administrations as well. But this was historic because of the backlog, because immigration cut to zero for like 6 months.
He undid all of Trump's policies, including the Remain in Mexico policy, and he also made it the Remain in Mexico policy. How many listeners are there right now?
Like 200.
Is there anybody commenting? How am I doing?
Well, I mean, the YouTube Shorts chat is literally just a bunch of brain dead idiots, so I don't even look at it. But YouTube Shorts is a wasteland. So I mean, they're gonna agree with you though. I assume. I don't look at it anymore.
Agree? I thought you would have people on both sides. You just have like right wing people coming up.
Oh no,
hear
okay.
What you have to say.
People that support my channel and watch it more than just like now will agree with me, obviously. But any new viewers, like I'd say like 2 out of 10 people agree with me. The rest are going to be like YouTube Shorts people. No, okay. When I say the big influx, okay, so Biden, he did not break any laws, okay? So like Remain in Mexico did not solve the issue with immigration in America, okay?
But it made it so that we could take them. So if you come to a port of entry and you say, hey, I want to seek asylum, or you came across illegally, we said, well, you have to remain in Mexico while we wait for the court date that says that. When he got rid of that, they said, okay, come in here. And
it depends what you view as success, though, because we have like 2,000 cases of rape, murder, and other forms of assault, from kidnappings, rape, extortions from gangs in Mexico, because they would just prey on people that we made stay in Mexico. So it depends if you think like
the coyotes.
But it depends if you're okay with putting kids into sex trafficking rings because we don't have a fixed immigration system. That could be your opinion, but I would rather a president who can pass an actual bill and legislation to fix our immigration system, to change our capacity to handle claims, which Trump got that border bill denied. And right now, Trump could get a border bill passed if he wanted to expand immigration courts. He's not doing it, so he's doing a bunch of illegal shit. But just to stay on Biden for a second, Biden followed the laws. He did follow the laws. We did not have the capacity. He should have pushed harder earlier to get a border bill passed. He waited too long.
Well, he was dead. He is out.
Well, the president. Okay, Donald Trump right now is also dead. So the administrations matter. The people they put in the administrations and who surrounds them matters more. So I vote for the administrations versus the actual politician, because I think worshiping politicians is bad anyway. Because like Trump barely knows where he is. He thinks egg prices went down 94%. He's been saying that for the past like 10 days. So it's like he doesn't know where he is either. They hand him an executive order. He's like, what is this executive order? It's like, this is the one that's gonna give everyone unicorns. He's like, well, this is so cool. It's like he has no idea what's happening. But yeah, the Biden issue was not pushing hard enough to expand capacity earlier. He did get I think it was like a $2 billion investment from Mexico in 2022, which was a 2-year plan to expand the ability for us to have claims happen in other countries. Other safe countries. I forget the actual term for them.
Trump's cleaned up the border. The border's the safest it's been ever. I mean, there are.
Okay, listen to these points though, really quick. Biden's policy, he already had, in Biden's last 6 months, the border crossings went down an extremely low amount. It went down to an extremely low amount
Not
the final 6 months.
compared to where it was in the beginning of his
Yeah,
presidency,
but
but
he
they
was
were
okay.
still much
Biden, the same
higher.
thing with inflation, though. Biden was dealing with a huge. I wish Trump won in 2020 because our economy would have crashed back then. It's crashing now in good times, so it definitely would have crashed in bad times. But I wish Trump was president, so he would have had to deal with all this shit. Because now Biden gets blamed for just being handed a bunch of shit and being dead the whole time and
Well,
not
he
backing down.
literally, day one, he undid dozens of border bills that literally, so that it's not like,
What
oh,
border bills
COVID
did he
and all this stuff.
undo? What policies
It,
did Biden undo?
like I said, the Remain in Mexico
That's not
policy
a
is
bill
probably the
though.
biggest.
That's a temporary executive order. That's not meant to be a
So
long-term policy.
and that literally when he undid, so I have a baby in my hands. I cannot Google the executive orders or whatever he did. But day one, I know that I've looked it up before. I don't know the names at the top of my head. He undid dozens of them, and the rate of illegal immigration, well, it became, just immigration because of the laws. It literally took a sharp angle up immediately. So it's not like we went from 10,000 a month to 12,000 a month. We started getting
It
tens of
spiked.
millions.
Okay, if you look at the actual graph, it spiked before Trump left. The number spiked before Trump left, and Trump had more border crossings than Obama did. But okay, here's one big thing that
Yeah, he was.
this is
Obama was known
here's
as
one
the
big thing.
deporter
Here's
in
one big
chief.
thing I ask everyone about the immigration wave. If we had 20 million illegal immigrants come over under Biden, and they were, a big portion of them were gang members and violent criminals, why did the crime rate decrease in America from 2020 to 2024 and 2025? And why did we have no hotspots in America where crime really increased? To the point where the only cases people bring up about immigrant crime is the same two cases of like Lake and Riley and like one other person. But there's no place in America where we saw a huge increase in crime to identify like a huge issue with mass immigration killing our economy or killing our neighborhoods or whatever. Our crime rate actually decreased, and we have a lot of studies on immigrant crime and illegal immigrants, legal immigrants. They commit crime at a lower rate than naturally born American citizens. And we can talk about the off events where an immigrant commits a crime. That is terrible, obviously. But that being weaponized is even more terrible, in my opinion, because I could pull Bible groups, church groups down south where kids are assaulted on the daily and killed and raped. And
Well,
that's not. I'm not going to say all Christians are that way. It just
crime rate's one thing, but you also have to look at not only crime rate, you have to look at the financial impact on our country, which was negative. We were bringing
immigrants helped our economy in this period. We had a tight labor market. It literally helped. It helped reduce
100% false.
It helped our economy.
Illegal immigration has cost us hundreds of billions, and it has brought in less than half of that. You could Google that right now. Anybody watching this can Google cost of immigration versus tax dollars brought in and all that. It is a detriment on the economy. That's not an opinion. That's not a conservative talking point. That is a fact that if you look up government sources right now.
I have the facts right here. Okay, the Congressional Budget Office said the 2023 surge in immigration increased U.S. GDP by 2.5% within the next 10 years due to the source of workers that we got.
You also have to look at the cost of
rates.
Illegal immigration, which is
that is with it. That's added in there. We know immigrants add to the economy. We know they add to the economy already. This is very settled economic data.
They
even
are
if they do cost money.
Their detriment. I would Google it if I wasn't holding my baby right now, and I'm not using that as an excuse. They are a financial burden on the economy. It costs way more money, in the billions more, to have illegal immigrants in our country than we take in. And especially the fact that we were giving them hotels, cell phones, food. We were giving them visas and drivers. We're funding. So I live in New York. Where are you from?
I'm from Northeast too, more rural.
No, oh, okay, Maryland or something. So, from New York, and I worked security in a hotel, and the hotel was taking in, they call them immigrants, right? Because we're allowing them to come here. So they're coming up from New York City. I live a little outside of New York City. And they were given rooms. Some of them were there for 12, 18 months. They're given rooms, food, snacks. They were given Uber. They were given cell phones, health care.
But you're saying you're saying more emotional things where it's like we're rather getting like services to go through the legal process. But I'm talking about the overall impact. I'm talking about the overall impact of immigrants on the economy.
There were 40 people that lived in this small motel, most of them way longer than 6 months. and they were given Uber, they were given healthcare, state-funded healthcare, Medicaid. They were given every expense they needed.
I'm
And
sorry, but if you want to know the facts about this, we can go through the facts. But if you want to just give that like one example of people receiving things, that's not going to kill that's probably the least expensive part of immigration. I'm talking about all the construction workers, all the farmers, all the people working in restaurants, all the people working door, like all these things tie our economy
the cost
together.
of illegal immigration it outweighs that. So
I
what
have
they do
listen. I
bring
have
to the
studies from the
table,
Cato Institute. I have studies from the Manhattan Institute. I have studies from the Congressional Budget Office that say you're wrong. So if you want to research this later and call back, you can. But immigrants have always been a gain to the economy. Like ever since the Irish and Chinese and everyone worked on our railroads to the coal mines, like immigrants have always helped the U.S. economy because they do the jobs no one else
we
wants
were
to
in
do.
a time during those times where we were building our country. We're now an established country.
We need to build now.
Over,
No, China's killing us because of this. We need the bodies. That's why our birth rate's an issue, because we need people to be able to do the jobs. We need immigrants for that. Even Trump said that.
They use slave labor.
Even
and they have
even Trump said that before. Trump said that last week. Trump said we need them.
We need what?
We need more immigrants to come back in because we're losing too many workers.
I think legal immigration, that their cultures align with us and their values align with us. People that come here, they speak English, they have skills that we're looking for, and that will add to the economy, and they can afford the economy. So I don't think we need to be taking in more poor people. I know that doesn't help, because I promise you are wrong. It costs way more money for the illegal immigrants to come to this country than it benefits us. I'm talking illegal immigration.
Yeah, even illegal immigration is added into the numbers. But do you disagree with the numbers that they have like a lower crime rate than naturally born American citizens?
I don't know. I mean, I would look into that. I don't have a dog in the fight. Like, I don't get anything out of like proving whether. I'm sure a vast majority of them are decent people just trying to make a good life. But again, that's why I said you have to factor in, like, okay, hey, you came here. I probably would too. Like, you came here illegally because like you wanted your family to be safe and prosper. But then again, like, there are billions of desperately poor, not like Mexico. Mexico's poor. There are billions of desperately poor people in the world. How many of them should we take in? We're helping people that are poor. Why don't we help the people in Africa that are starving to death?
Well, we just cut all of our programs in Africa, and because of Trump's cuts, I think 1 million more kids per year is going to die in Africa. We're killing them too, so it's okay. Thank you, Mr. Trump. Yeah. Look up the actual numbers on that. It's going to hurt our trade deals in Africa. It's going to help China expand their reach in Africa. And it's going to kill a bunch of kids. And also make diseases more prevalent and pandemics more likely. Trump is cutting all that. He's cutting veteran service. He's cutting a bunch of good shit because Trump is really cool. Elon Musk, thank you, Doge. Thank you for cutting the Social Security offices. That really helped me. Okay, just in general, if they wanted to expand immigration services right now, they're defunding immigration courts and cutting immigration judges. So the fact Trump wants to do this whole wartime law thing and violate due process when he's also like killing our capacity to do actual deportations is really bad.
Like the Maryland man, right? The Maryland man.
Well, there's like 15 people right now. I think there's 4 total that the Supreme Court is probably going to order for them to return. So there's a lot of people that were sent without due process.
So the funny thing, that guy, the Brago Garcia or whatever, the Maryland man, right? They keep saying he's lived here illegally for 5 years. He was given a temporary stay on his or on his status. A temporary stay. I'm sure you may know. Maybe you don't. Maybe you do.
Well, he was on a yearly working permit, so he was here working. Every year he had to get renewed.
He was given a stay, and a stay means you have to leave, not to your respective country, but you cannot stay in the United States.
No, he was here legally after 2019 when he was prevented from going to El Salvador. He applied for a work permit, and every year he has to meet with DHS, and he kept applying for the work permit. He kept getting it every year. So he was here on a work permit at that point, like in the point that they took him to El Salvador.
He's a domestic abuser and a gang member.
Okay, so when we're talking about due process, he has 0 criminal record.
He was given due process. Due process is he was was given a temporary stay, which means that
in 2019, okay, get the
you're not going to
timeline
let me
right
talk.
there.
You're talking over
Because
me,
you're
so
saying
you're
wrong
never.
things. Okay, you're saying wrong
Is it a
things. You're
tactic
saying
of yours, or are
incorrect
you
things.
just impatient?
No,
Are
because
you
you're saying
impatient?
things that are wrong, and I do have people watching, but
No,
you're saying things that are incorrect about the case.
no.
He was on a
Well,
work
if you
permit, right?
let
Do you
me
disagree with
finish
that?
my thought, I will give you 4 minutes to rip me apart if you just let me finish. A temporary stay, due process, right? When you're given a temporary stay, the process of a temporary stay at any given minute that can be immediately taken away, and you can be sent back to either your respective country or just asked to leave this country. So due process at any moment. The only thing they did was they revoked his temporary stay, and they said you have to leave immediately. That is due process. He was seen by courts, immigration judges, given a temporary stay, and then we said, okay, we're not abiding by that temporary stay. You have to leave immediately. He was deported back to his respective country. If he was brought back by the Supreme Court to this country, he can then be immediately deported again. So that would be the most due process he could legally get right now. If I'm wrong about that, I will PayPal you $4,000.
I'm sorry, but do you know that the court in 2019 made it illegal to send him to El Salvador under any circumstance?
Because he was given a temporary stay.
No, so it was still okay up to the point of him being sent there. It was still illegal to send him to El Salvador based on the 2019 court ruling.
They said he had to leave, but not to that country. So you're given a temporary stay. That means you have to leave.
Okay, wait, you said I could talk. You said I could talk.
country.
Hey, you realize you're interrupting me. We're sharing a conversation here. You commented on me doing it. I'll just say like, okay, he was here on a yearly work permit. Okay, every year he met with a DHS, got it renewed. Okay.
While
when they took him,
getting arrested.
Okay. When you say things like that, you're very anti-American. You're very pro-trusting whatever the government says and any allegations that anyone says ever. That is the opposite of due process. If you want to throw in, he beat his wife. I don't care.
His wife said he beat that.
Do you know that her wife, his wife right now is in a safe house because the Trump White House leaked her address. She had to flee from her house. And you keep interrupting me because you know you're wrong on this. Do you disagree that he was on a yearly work permit?
It literally doesn't matter because he was given a temporary stay.
It does matter.
Okay.
Can you answer my question? Can you answer my question?
A temporary stay can be revoked at any time.
You gotta chill out here because so he was on a yearly work permit. Do you agree with that?
I'm sorry, your soy boy mentality is getting to me.
See, this is what you do when you're wrong. You say soy boy.
I'm not wrong.
You're running away from this. You're running away. You're a pussy. You're running away. Stop being a little bit. Okay, don't run away. Don't run away. Yeah, don't backtrack on me. You're gonna tear your hammy or something, bro. Okay, chill out for a second. So he's on a yearly working permit. Okay, so a deportation that is different from going to CCOT, from going to a torture prison. In El Salvador, where you don't leave until you die, and there's no windows or anything. You work in a slave camp.
He's an MS-13 gang member.
There was no proof of him being a gang member. There was no.
He has MS-13 gang tattoos on his knuckles. He met with the Democratic
senator. You know how much of a little baby you sound like right now? You keep on interrupting me because you know you're wrong about this shit. You're anti-American.
I'm a little baby. I'm a little baby.
Because you trust whatever the government says, and that's pathetic. You should not trust the government this much. You're such a cuck to the government. You got to chill out for a second. Okay, you got to stop cucking out to the government. You can't just believe, oh, the president said you're a terrorist. Now you're a terrorist because I want to say so too. That's not American. That's
he has MS-13 gang tattoos on his knuckles. He met with a Democratic senator. Zoom in on the picture. Go to CNN.
Trump's DHS.
And go to the interview.
No. I have independent thought, unlike you. So DHS in 2019.
You have independent thought. You have not said one thing against the Democratic Party. The whole conversation.
We're talking about this specific case that you're wrong about. Okay, so the case in 2019. All right, there's zero proof at all given that he is a gang member in these cases, which is why he was not. That's why he was able to be on a work permit.
Does he have MS-13 gang tattoos on a CNN
That was not
interview?
verified. If you talk to experts, the tattoos that the Trump White House says he's part of a gang, if you talk to actual experts from Venezuela, that is not enough to qualify you as a gang member to send you to a torture camp. You should have an actual standard of evidence other than the government saying, we said so. And we need to have an actual process so they can't rip out someone random.
The job could say, oh, he's not a white supremacist. He might just have a tattoo. And you're talking about
He did not have a swastika. He did not have a swastika
So
or
your
known MS-13 gang
testosterone
tattoos.
is probably
Okay, buddy,
dangerously low
you're
to
running
the
from it
point
again.
where
You're
your
running away.
bones are
You're running
brittle,
away.
dude.
You're
You
sprinting
have
away
no
from it. Oh, you're getting
testosterone
mad. You're
in your
getting
body.
mad. Oh, you got to talk over me. You sound really sad. Stan,
I'm
why
not
are you so
mad.
mad?
You're
Please
literally
understand,
a
I do want you
pussy.
as a
You're
fan. I just don't
so
want you thinking
much
some
of a
crazy
fucking
shit.
pussy.
I saw some other stuff on the news and it made me sick. You know that song by Eminem? You're a stan. Okay, so this case right
I'm
now,
a
the Trump
stan.
White House.
You're a
You're a
fan,
stan.
dude.
You're
You
a
have
stan.
no.
Chill for a second. Okay, the Trump White House
Listen
admit
to
this was
your
done
voice,
illegally.
man. I'm
This was
from
done illegally.
Maryland.
Oh, you gotta
I'm
run
from
from it. You gotta
Maryland.
run
I'm a
from it.
little
Hey, when you look in the mirror
liberal.
tonight, remember that you know nothing. You're a dumbass. Remember that.
I'm
Buddy.
gonna look at
Okay,
my
so,
wife and
I'm
baby.
pro-America.
Where are you? Are you in your mother's house?
Oh,
Be
I'll
honest.
go kiss my lady right after this, brother. Okay, so
Oh
listen,
yeah, your
listen.
lady. You mean your trans boyfriend that
Oh,
wears
the
a wig,
dude, you realize right now you're the epitome of the American male right now. You are giving masculinity a terrible name. If this is masculinity, you're running away from no one shit because you want to say insults. That's awesome, brother. You should keep on doing that shit. You're big and tough. I'm sure you look in the mirror.
Me a pussy.
I hope your father was involved because it sounds like he wasn't. Okay, so when we talk about these things, when we talk about these things, when we talk about these issues and the Constitution and due process, I don't trust the government to say you're a terrorist. You should be suffering the consequences of a terrorist. If they wanted to deport him, they could have deported him easily. They could expand immigration courts.
I like
say,
how you don't trust the government up until
listen.
Him
Oh, baby girl. They could have deported him to a third country other than El Salvador. They could have got him out of the country easily. They could have easily just deported him. And they admit they made a mistake illegally sending him to El Salvador, which is why the Supreme Court ruled 9-0 against Donald Trump multiple times, one on the basis of due process, two on the basis of facilitating his return. They ruled against Donald Trump for a reason because they did something that was anti-constitution.
I know, the MS-13 white-beating gang member should have stayed here. You're right.
Your allegation should not be able to send someone to a death camp. Your allegation, your word should not be able to send someone to a death camp. That's not what America's founded on. If you want that standard, if you want that standard, move to El Salvador, move to China, move to Russia. You hate America, okay? And by the way, those accounts for 2019, you got to do some research, brother. You got to do some. Oh yeah, because I actually understand shit. I do work to understand shit. I do work to understand shit. Yeah, because I do work to understand shit.
You're a multiculturalist. You are a globalist. You are a soy boy.
Oh baby, those big words. You know all the big words now. Why don't you explain something in actual terms that you know shit about it? Because the 2019 allegations were based on a Chicago Bulls hat, was based on an allegation from an MS-13 gang in New York, which he never even lived in New York. The other allegation was from a cop. Was from a cop that was actually fired. The cop that alleged he was part of MS-13 based off of hearsay. He actually was fired for paying off a sex worker a week later.
Two immigration judges found that he has MS-13 gang member
Okay, the actual rulings. No. The immigration judges did not say that. And you are insulting the intelligence of yourself, brother. You can look this up. The judges never confirmed that at all.
Two immigration judges found that he has MS-13 ties. He has MS-13 gang member tattoos on his knuckles.
Because guess what? Even the ICE agents that made up shit about him did not include the knuckle tattoos in their hearing, and they would have done that because it would have been a slam dunk.
A Democratic senator just met with him in the interview.
Wow, you're on Twitter. You do Twitter research. You do Twitter research. You're very smart, buddy.
I do not have social
media. Wow, you do Twitter
media.
Research.
I do not have social media.
Wow, you saw it on Rumble then, or Facebook or something. Wow, you must have saw it on Fox News. Good job, brother. You saw all the
I don't watch Fox News.
I've
never had Twitter.
I don't care about the gay barber. I don't care about the professional soccer player. Maybe they did crimes, maybe they didn't. I care about American values. I care about due process. That's why even the Supreme Court, that's 6-3 in favor of conservatism right now, is ruling 9-0 against Donald Trump. Because you don't love America. You hate this damn country. You should stop trying to break it.
I love America.
You hate this country. You hate the Fifth Amendment. You hate the 14th Amendment. Yeah, you would literally be one of those dumbasses out there screaming America first. We got to get the Browns out of here. You are that guy.
Yeah, and you had the black Twitter thing you had the blackout picture on your Twitter. I would guarantee it.
I just recommend.
My values are tied to actual core beliefs and values.
Oh, yes. Multiculturalism, globalism, the money changers. How do you feel about Jewish people?
The window of the left moves so rapidly.
The Overton window of the left moves so rapidly?
Oh, yeah, wait.
What about your movement that's against a 9-0 Supreme Court ruling with a 6-3 conservative judge
arguing
against due process?
Now I thought I believed in the government institution. Sounds like you're a government institution.
Hey, buddy, do you know what due process is? What is due process?
Due process is a guy being seen by immigration court judges.
No. What is due
both
process?
said
No.
he's
Okay,
MS-13.
explain what is due process. What is due
Explain
process?
how two
Tell me
court
what due
judges
process
found
is.
he's MS-13.
No.
He has
Okay,
MS-13
they did
gang
not say
tattoos,
he was.
and
They
you're
did not say he
saying
was MS-13. That never happened.
yes,
That
they
never
did.
happened. No.
Yes,
The judges
it's
never said that because the
factual.
Trump
For
admin would actually
record.
be giving evidence of that. They never said that. Okay, they never said that. The judges never confirmed that. Actually, they said the evidence was not substantial enough to
So
confirm
he
anything
doesn't
about
have
gang ties.
MS-13 gang
That's why he was able to get a
tattoos. You
work
can't say
permit. That's why the Trump
everybody
DOJ in
look
2019,
up
the Trump
Abrego
admin,
Garcia
the
gang
Trump admin.
tattoos and just
You can look up
it
the tattoos or you can look up the actual facts. So in 2019, when we talk about what the Trump admin decided, the Trump admin, you're saying the Trump admin knew he had MS-13 gang tattoos and let him stay? The Trump admin did? In 2019?
So two immigration court judges before Trump was
Trump's
recently in
judges.
office
Trump's judges in 2019. Trump was president in 2019, 2020. Why did they let him stay?
MS-13 gang affiliations.
Hey, crybaby. Why did Trump let them stay? Wait,
no.
no. If he had those tattoos, why did Trump let them stay in 2019, 2020? Why did he let them stay?
It doesn't. It literally.
Oh,
it
you can't
doesn't
answer that
matter.
question, huh, little baby? Oh, baby, you gotta work on this shit, bro. That's sad.
Really?
It doesn't matter. You say it doesn't matter.
Can we meet up and talk about it in person?
Yeah, we gotta meet up, dude. I'm not gay like you. Holy shit, I'm not trying to get that close to you. What are you talking about? Holy shit, get away from me.
If you stand
Oh my
next to a
god,
man, you're gay.
you are. If
What's
you want
wrong
to meet
with
up
gay
in person,
people?
if you want to meet up in person, I love gay people.
What's wrong with gay
though.
people?
I love gay.
I know
Pete
you love
Hegseth.
gay people.
I love Pete Hegseth.
You love when they come in you.
I love Pete Hegseth, brother. Pretty Pete Hegseth, a little powdered face and his proud boy. I love Pete Hegseth, brother.
He is cute.
Yeah, I know you because you are a gay man, and I'm proud of you because you are closeted.
What's wrong with that?
I hope you get out.
I am gay.
Because most nationalists are gay.
So who
I'm
cares?
proud of you. Yeah, I hope your wife finds out. But anyways, you lost
I'm gay. I'm
this
happy.
conversation
I'm old
terribly.
school gay,
You
not
lost
new
this
school
conversation
gay.
terribly. I hope you work in the morning. I know you have work in the morning. I hope you do well tomorrow. I hope you have a good day tomorrow. I hope you have a good coffee in the morning if you drink coffee. But yeah, you should.
Hey, I hope you
stop,
watch your girlfriend have cum on her breast from another guy. You're a faggot.
You guys are weird.
You have
You
no
guys are
idea what you're
weird,
talking
brother.
about. You were wrong
Keep
about
on saying
everything.
it. Keep saying the words, brother.
You're just
yeah,
dumb.
keep on
You're
making
dumb.
shit up.
You have no
making
facts.
Shit up. Oh yeah, you don't know. Wait, what is due process?
Have fun. You're
what
gay.
What is the purpose of due process?
Go fuck yourself.
What is the purpose? It's
your
a limit on
girlfriend
government
is
power,
cheating
right?
on you.
So
You
due
live at home with
process-
your mother. Where do you live?
Yes, I
Maryland.
do.
Let's leak this guy's address.
Yeah,
Let's
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. You are so cool. Ah, dude. That's how you dominate a conversation. That is crazy. That's a good one. I like that one a lot. Bro, he so thoroughly lost that conversation. He had to say, when I brought up the Trump thing, he's like, that doesn't even matter, bro. The first one to say, soy boy, globalist. That's a good one. All right. Someone wanted to talk about Doge, I think. Yeah, someone said Doge. Also, the answer I wanted was, so due process is not even a person's right, which it is someone's right for due process, but due process is more so a limit on government power. It's a limit on the government, so the government can't just accuse you of being a terrorist. They can't just say you have a skull tattoo, therefore you're a gang member, and now they can use wartime law to ship you off to like a dungeon somewhere, okay, or execute you. Due process is a limit on government power, which is why it's in our Declaration of Independence, which is why our founding fathers focused on the Fifth Amendment so much. It's a limit on government power. They cannot just do things to you without evidence, without a process, without a chance to present yourself in court with representation of some kind. It's a limit on government power. So if you're saying we should bypass government power to expand our ability to do your dumb like ego trip, whatever policies you want. And by the way, that guy was saying that stuff with his baby in his hands. He's holding his baby saying that stuff. That's some crazy. That's some devil work right there. But yeah, it's a limit on government power. So if someone says we should betray due process, if we should give government more power because you don't want to do shit the right way, or if you want to do illegal shit and be an authoritarian, they're anti-American. Due process is probably the most important part of any free society. But yeah, if you're, yeah. All right, let me see real quick. Oh, please drop a like. Yeah, like the Patriot Act. Or WMDs, right? WMDs are... Okay, I'm gonna do halftime on the stream really quick. I need like a 10-second break. Please drop a like. Due process is a right of citizens. Nope, it's for all people in the U.S. It's for all persons in the U.S. That's why the founding fathers wrote it as they did and gave the reasoning they did. It would not make any sense for a tourist, for example, to not have due process. That's what happens in Russia and China and other authoritarian countries. If you're a tourist in America, we cannot just use our government and accuse someone of a crime and execute them. Okay, there's due process for them too. There's a lot of Supreme Court reinforcement for this. The current Supreme Court reinforced it 9-0. It's a basic American principle that you disagree with. So, sorry, buddy. Sorry, you're anti-America. Okay, I'm gonna reset this YouTube Shorts stream. On my channel, I have a YouTube Shorts and I have a regular sized stream. So please drop a like and subscribe. Please, if you want to donate, please donate to Jolah Politics, JOLAHPOLITICS on PayPal, Venmo, or Cash App if you want to donate, or you can donate on Coffee for text to speech. On my channel, I have 2 streams running. I have a YouTube Shorts stream and I have a regular horizontal. Like I said, I'm gonna reset the YouTube Shorts and direct you towards my other stream as well. Yeah, I'm gonna send you to the horizontal one, at the regular sized one. Wait, is this the other one I have running? Oh, yeah, I guess so. The last caller was horrid. He was really smart though. He was a smart guy. George Soros was watching. What do you guys think about AOC not capitalizing white?
Would you rather date an illegal immigrant or a liberal?
Oh my gosh. That is like the worst question ever. I don't know. Like, probably. Oh my gosh. I would say no.
By the way, if a liberal did this to a question about dating conservatives, you'd have 15,000 woke conservatives in the comments crying, pissing their pants, guarantee you. But she is way too stupid to date. I don't know if she can consent to dating people. She's too dumb to really, be in a relationship. Yeah, I don't know if she should do that. It's not very wise for people like her. Are pre-employment background checks unconstitutional? No. You're consenting. You can. There's areas where there is not. You can sign it away. We talk about reasonable limits to these things. But violating due process completely, or I don't know what you're responding to, honestly. This guy messaged me about Doge, brother. Tonight won't be the night that I will fall for you over again. Don't make me change my mind. I won't live to see another day. I swear it's true. But a girl like you is impossible to find. You're impossible to find. Tonight will be the night that I will fall for you. Howdy.
Howdy. That conversation was wild, huh?
Yeah, I like having fun here and there with people like that who are completely unreasonable. Because I think that person's like, I think most like moderate Republicans or like Trump voters would think that guy's a lunatic. Especially when talking about like the constitutional rights portion. I don't know. Unless if you agree with him, but
I mean, there were points, but at the end of the day, I'm an independent, so I don't necessarily take a strict side to things, and that's why I wanted to have a conversation about Doge, because I'm on the fence about a lot of the way that some things are or have been handled. In your mind, what is Elon Musk's role here?
In my mind, Musk was able to tear apart different government agencies that were investigating his companies for fraud and corruption and I believe safety violations. So he wanted to kill those agencies, probably get data from them on how they regulate companies and different investigations they were doing into his companies. Huge conflict of interest there. I know that he does have a relationship with China and Russia to some extent, business wise. And there is some knowledge we have from whistleblowers that when they installed their private servers, they were very compromised from foreign governments as well as they were scanning our data with artificial intelligence, like our records and social security numbers and addresses and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know where that information is because there's no checks on that. He also wanted to like delegitimize things like social security, saying there's fraud there, which I think that's a way to sort of make it be demonized to set up a future where you can cut it. And the big thing as well, initially he said $2 trillion in cuts. Then he said 1 trillion. Then he said 500 billion, and he ended with 150 billion. And then if you look through the contracts, it's more like 50 to 75 billion in cuts, and a lot of it was just personnel cuts, which is probably the cheapest thing our government does. So that's my overall view of it. I think it's mostly for corrupt purposes, and if you wanted to do this in a real way, you'd do it through Congress, like Bill Clinton did, if you wanted to actually do it.
You made a lot of points there, lots to touch on.
Yeah, definitely.
I agree with a lot of what you said. I also okay. So here's the question. I guess is the better question. Where is the legitimacy behind what they find? I mean, we have, and I'm not asking you this question like all of it, but we're talking. I mean, $5 billion on leases for unused properties. I don't know if we've gotten all the information or paperwork on any of that. $170 million in Social Security payments. The numbers are insane. And as an independent, I really do appreciate us saving money as a country saving money. We have such a deficit that needs to be. Here's a better way to put it. I see the savings that we're making, and I like a lot of them, but I also disagree with the way that all of this is being handled. And I wonder where the middle ground can be of saving money on condoms for Gaza, but also not.
So that was not. Do you know what Gaza? Like there was some like anti-AIDS, HIV/AIDS program for Africa. But there was no condom sent to like Hamas, like they claimed. There's no evidence about the $5 billion in unused leases. I know they accidentally were cutting. They accidentally exposed actually some CIA or some intelligence offices through that were like protected. I'm pretty sure, like classified information, because they were just cutting things randomly. But like in a not good way, because it just exposed our private intel to our adversaries. The Doge website got hacked instantly and leaked a bunch of our private information.
Sure.
A lot of information got leaked from our government that Russia and China would have paid millions and billions and trillions of dollars to try and hack away from us, and they kind of got it handed to them. And just like when it comes to everything that they say they cut, a lot of it was culture war topics that they were mad about. So I mean, they cut a lot of our programs to prevent diseases in Africa, that helped us prevent pandemics and helped us keep trade routes open and get influence in Africa that China's probably going to go steal. They are replicating what we used to do with USAID. Largely in Africa. So you can say like you don't like the gender programs or the gay parades or whatever, but even that, like they kept a couple contracts, or they cut a couple contracts that would be good media stories. But like the Social Security as well, the idea that there were people that were dead or like kids getting Social Security payments that should not be getting it, that was just completely not true. Never verified. The idea that there were immigrants getting Social Security was not verified at all either. That was not true. Yes, sir.
I didn't mean to interrupt. I apologize. Has it been unproven, or has it just not been confirmed? I'm just wondering, because I haven't found anything that has been confirmed or unconfirmed.
So going through we know they fudged the books a little bit. So after going through the actual budgets they gave for the $100 billion or the 160 they claimed to cut. there's a company, a macroeconomics company that found it was closer to $100 billion, but there were inflated numbers and accounting errors included. We cut a bunch of national park services, a lot of VA staffing, a lot of Social Security offices we cut. So, I'd argue, and we cut a lot of IRS agents, which is a really bad thing to cut for the government, and also for tax revenue and for the deficit, because they go after the rich when we have more IRS agents. So yeah, what they actually cut is, in my opinion, is really bad areas to cut from government. And there's no proof they did anything substantial, or even like I said before, the issues of corruption and everything. It is really scary too. And we have an example, again, if you want to look it up, if you haven't before. When Bill Clinton did an actual downsizing of government, that was a controlled way to actually do it. But what Musk did, I'm concerned that it was just to sort of like kill social services, kill agencies that were investigating him, and to steal data with AI.
And do you think that is solely on solely Elon Musk's proposal?
Well,
in that sense, 'cause I mean, he's just what is he? What's the word for it? I apologize. He's just a special advisor to the president, right? So he can't make any, he can't force executive orders. My problem is Trump kind of just listens to everything he says.
Yeah,
And
I mean, he did
scary,
shut down agencies by himself too, so he did a lot of crazy shit.
But how did he do it by himself? Just because he can't shut down agencies, can he? I didn't think he had any executive power other than being an advisor.
A lot of it is illegal,
my
but the thing with the issue with our system is if you're in the executive branch, you enforce the laws too. So if you want to do illegal stuff in the executive branch, you kind of can just do it. If like Congress doesn't do anything about it, if the courts are slow, you can kill agencies and fire people and put people in limbo. But there's people right now, there's thousands of federal employees getting paid right now because Doge fired the person who it's a funny story actually. Doge fired the person who like processes laying people off. So they were trying to resign or whatever, or leave the job, but Doge fired some of the people who actually let people leave the job. So there's been people collecting payments for months and months now, because they just kind of like went through and used AI to cut a bunch of random stuff. And I mean, you could look at Peter Thiel as well. Peter Thiel's really scary. They want to install, and Musk has said this before. Peter Thiel financed JD Vance's entire career too, and Musk and Thiel have talked about having a satellite surveillance system to watch America. Trump just gave Peter Thiel's company a big federal contract, which is really scary to me. I don't want them using facial recognition technology like China does, which is what we're going towards right now. And no one's talking about this because there's so much other stuff going on.
It's very true. It's completely obvious that that's.
And Musk wants to put our kids in AI teachers.
Chicago and all of those big cities are already.
They want artificial intelligence teachers too. Musk wants. So Musk and Peter Thiel, the fact they're controlling this administration, makes me really worried. And they're financing everything, and they're getting all the contracts. And Musk, that's another thing too, right? Musk can direct even more federal contracts to him. He's one of the biggest recipients of all time in taxpayer dollars for his companies. We built him. We built his companies with American taxpayer dollars and our research that we paid for with our taxpayer dollars. So yeah, when it comes to cutting, and this is what someone said to me before, who's like a libertarian in my Discord, one of our mods in our Discord. He said that at the beginning he was really excited about it, and they like it in concept. If you're anti big government, for example, then you want something that's like, okay, they're gonna cut some programs or whatever. But it's kind of my big issue with Doge. I think it's a propaganda machine, and it's a vehicle to do bad things under the branding of doing something people want, right? Because people hear efficiency, they're like, yeah, finally government efficiency. But yeah, I think they use that branding, and I'll tell you, I'll be honest too. They tried finding the most like crazy fraud, abuse, and waste, and I'll be honest, they found things that you might not like, but they did not do a good job finding waste, fraud, or abuse. So our government must be kept, even if you think it's designed bad, that's a Congress issue, to be honest. But it seems like they kept things pretty free of waste, fraud, and abuse then.
I also wonder, in your mind, where is the happy medium here, like I asked earlier, because I feel like there has to be some level of our taxpayer dollars going to some ridiculous things, luxury toilets in embassies, luxury, trips that are tens of millions of dollars for, I forget the gentleman's name. I can look it up in a second, but he took a luxury trip to go tour EVs in Europe, and it cost like $10.5 million, and he spent a week there, and it was just a senator. I don't remember his name. I can look that up. Maybe I'm wrong about the amount of money, but it was millions of dollars. And my question is there a happy medium? And That's number one. Number two is, has there been anything that Doge has done that you believe to be a net positive? A single thing they've done.
That's really hard because when it comes to government agencies and like waste, like you're saying, maybe someone took a trip or something. I guarantee you, private companies have much more waste, especially when they get to like a huge, to a huge size. It's impossible to not have waste. It's really hard in government too, because I know some government employees who can like travel for work. They might be able to go to a conference for a weekend, and the conference will be a couple hours, and the rest of the time they can explore a city they've never been to. And people might say, why are our tax dollars going to giving travel to a government official or someone working for the government? That's not what we need them to do. But it's also something to consider. It's always good to ask the question, like, why things exist, why different funds are used in different areas. Sometimes it's a budget issue. Sometimes it's just like planned bad. Sometimes it's just like a very small piece of the job. But also, it's sometimes good to have, leeway. You don't want the budget to be exactly zero for these things because they cannot operate at full potential if there is an emergency where they need higher capacity, or if there is, you want some movement in the system so it can withstand big blows if anything ever goes wrong, if people are fired or whatever might happen. But also, when we try to attract workers, public service employees get paid a lot less than private already. And it's okay to maintain some standard of travel or other benefits that can attract good, successful people to be in government too. So, even right now in Congress, if we could ban Congress from taking big dollar donations and from stock trading, I'd be 100% happy with paying them over $1 million each, honestly. Because if you look at a CEO, CEOs make at least $10 million, $15 million. And if you're going to be in Congress and divest from all your private companies so you're not corrupt, I would be happy making them millionaires because I think it's a job that's important like that.
CEOs of major corporations definitely make that much money. But how many major corporations are in America?
Well, think about the Fortune 500 alone. We have thousands. 200? But think about how many people in Congress there are. You're probably in Congress of America. You are probably one of the top 1,000 most powerful people in humanity if you're in Congress or Senate. If you're in the House or Senate right now. So, I mean, that's what I mean when I say, like, they should probably get paid a decent amount. So, like, it's because if you, let's say, for example, you make $170,000 a year, which is what I think they get paid, and you live in New York City, and you have an apartment in New York, an apartment in D.C., and you have to travel back and forth all the time, that's a lot of freaking money. Like, that $170,000 you make is actually like a normal lower middle class salary after those two expenses.
100% correct.
For that.
100%
so, like,
correct. That
person, it makes it so that's why 50% of Congress is millionaires, right, and billionaires. Because if you're from a regular background, you can't run for it. You can't manage the campaign where they have a bunch of rich friends and everything. So, yeah, I'd be happy if they could stop taking millions of dollars and speaking fees and donations. If they could be clean politicians, I'd happily pay them more to get quality people to run the government. But you asked a question about like a balance. My big thing with government in general, I think about the job that needs to be done. So, for example, I always say I think it's good to have big government controlled by the people without corrupt influences, for things like limiting the potential for big banks to screw people over, or for limiting big corporations from dumping toxic sewage in the water. I want the government to be huge to make sure that they don't give us cancerous chemicals in the food. That's somewhere I want the government to be big, but I don't want the government to be big. I want it to be small when it comes to, it should be small for unnecessary regulations. It should be small for limiting freedoms. It should be small for, and I disagree with some people on the left with how far they went on like campuses with policing different kinds of speech over the past like 10 or 15 years. Although the right wing is doing the cancel culture by far worse than the left ever did now.
I do
regardless
agree with that,
of that,
I think it's an exact opposite of what has been in the past. I mean, cancel culture, I believe, as a whole, regardless of what political side you're on. I mean, we're talking music, politics, we're talking entertainment. I think it's all just a reason for people to feel offended somehow. And I don't like that about the left. Again, I'm an independent. I don't like that about the left. I feel like the left finds ways to get offended, but now I feel like it's switched to where the right is now using that same tactic for their own gain, and I think it just doesn't make any. It doesn't make any sense if you look at it from an objective perspective.
Yeah, and say what you want though.
Like things go one way, and then the other people utilize the same strategic assets to go this way. I just don't get it.
We'll see what they're doing now too with like if a college student, which our universities and our research we do there is one of the prized possessions of the U.S. economy and our development and our ability to go against other countries like China. And they're killing our research right now because we get a lot of immigrants, which is a good thing. Like, think about the Olympics, think about research. If we get the best immigrants from every country, we get their researchers. They're now researchers for America. We want them in America. But now we're having researchers detained for saying something pro-Palestine, even just like dumb, even just not dumb, but even very simple op-eds that are like, hey, Israel should do more humanitarian aid to Gaza and not cut off water and food. Even that op-ed can get you detained with a unmarked vehicle with people that have a face mask on. They can show up and just rip you off a college campus now with the right wing. And I try to bring up
Let's
like
be
an
honest,
analogy.
but do we have any proof of that happening?
Yo, look it up, dude. Dude. Okay, we have to introduce you to this because
People
there's
getting
at least
attacked
there's
because
hundreds
they're
of cases. I'm not even
political
kidding. Look up a Tufts University. You could see a video of a woman walking. She was a children and youth worker, which means she like helped abuse children, essentially like a social worker. She was going there for a graduate degree. There's a video of her at Tufts University. She wrote an op-ed about Israel a year ago. And you can see the agents pull up, no markings, no reason for arrest. They put her into a van, went on college campuses. University of Michigan just had a battering ram knock down multiple residencies on University of Michigan just because people said something anti Israel. And I'm telling you, like, there's no criminal charges. There's no accusations of them breaking the law. They're just the Department of State is saying they deemed these individuals a national security threat to America because they stand as a threat to America's foreign policy interests based off op-eds. And my analogy I bring up.
I mean, completely unacceptable, no matter what your political side is. I don't care.
Yeah, for sure. And we let neo-Nazis protest in America. You know what I mean? We let actual KKK members still go out and wave their dumbass swastikas around.
It's true.
And it's like, imagine
I don't support KKK, but I support
definitely not.
Everybody going out there and expressing their views. Just like you can go BLM, we can go whoever you want. You can call any organization on either side. I support the freedom of speech. But being detained from the government with that, I just watched the video. It's unacceptable, regardless of your political affiliation.
Yeah, that's happening everywhere, but those are green cards. There's a case of Mahmoud Khalil, and there's another Columbia student, I'm pretty sure. Columbia is a big area for this. But, like, if you have a criminal charge, that's one thing. But just saying they're threats to America based on their thoughts or their speech, like thought policing. Imagine if Joe Biden detained Jordan Peterson for not using pronouns. That'd be the same thing, but the right wing is like taking what the left did with cancel culture and taking it to a whole like another level. Yeah, there would be. But now because it's Muslim kids or they're Arab or from the Middle East or whatever, or from Turkey or whatever other, or maybe they're Palestinian. They're going for these individuals that the American people won't get that mad about, right? Because if they went after just like a bunch of blonde-haired white girls, the American people probably get a little bit more mad about it.
Sure, you got bigger problems at that point. I agree.
Yeah, but yeah, definitely look into those cases. ICE has detained multiple American citizens, quote unquote, by accident. And that's when it comes to the big conversation about due process and that Abrego Garcia guy. And like the standard for sending someone to a prison camp is much higher than the standard of sending them to a normal deportation proceeding, because that's a much lower standard in general. You can see immigration judge in and out and be deported, but being sent to a prison camp in El Salvador, that's a whole nother level. And not even the question of why are we paying El Salvador? Why are we sending our tax dollars to El Salvador for them to hold prisoners and flying people there versus paying Americans to do it, especially if they mess up?
That's a fair question. I think a better question becomes, does an executive order that determines a group of people as a terrorist organization deem that to be legal? I don't know. I just don't know. I don't think anybody knows.
The Supreme Court ruled on this already.
Yeah.
They did rule on the Alien Enemies Act, which is what they're using for it. And they said something about reasonable amount of time for due process for a few of the cases. They ruled 9-0 in this direction. But the Trump admin now reduced the reasonable amount of due process to 12 hours. And and there's people like there's the big cases I see are the gay barber, there's the professional soccer player, and some of these people like escaped Venezuela after being tortured with electric shock, and they made it through legal ports of entry and claimed
seeking asylum.
Legal ports of entry seeking asylum after escaping a dictatorship being tortured.
Assimilate to America legally. Correct.
Yeah, so they went the right way. They were working, doing soccer camps. There's one guy who's a advocate for kids who have autism. They used an autism awareness tattoo. They used a Real Madrid soccer tattoo as a reason to send. They used a mom and dad tattoo as a reason to send people to CCOT, a torture prison in El Salvador. Yeah, because they're going after Venezuelans, right? Because they said it's MS-13, or they said it's a Tren de Aragua from Venezuela.
Right. But I think the
insane.
question becomes: can't we all agree that this man that we're talking about, that went to a prison in El Salvador, obviously had major issues in the United States, and he was not a citizen?
The Kilmar Abrego Garcia guy?
Correct.
My question would be, how can he be in the U.S. since the age of 16 for 13 years and have zero criminal record if he's that much of a, you know?
I thought that's a good question. I thought he had a criminal record here, or at least he had restraining orders against him.
No, he had an allegation from his wife, which she said they resolved of like domestic violence, of like ripping her shirt off.
He got arrested for domestic violence. He may not have been convicted of it, but he did get arrested for it, correct?
No, but yeah.
But I thought that was the case.
So that's the thing as well. So you could say he has allegations there. You could say that maybe he hung out with people who were immigrants who were like coming in. Maybe he was driving people. I think there was some case of him like driving someone that was coming in illegally or something like that. But
I think he got arrested. I think he got arrested when he was like associated around like 2 or 3 other known MS-13 or Tren de Aragua gang member.
And that's the big conversation, right? So if that happened, how did he never get a criminal record? And when the Trump, and in 2019, people seem like they forget time sometimes, sometimes. In 2019, Trump was president, and it was his judges and his Justice Department that would look over these cases. And the idea that they would let an MS-13 gang member that they knew was a gang member stay here on a working permit is so laughable to me. And the fact they have zero criminal record, he was never like convicted of a crime or even charged with one, I'm pretty sure. And like regardless of that fact, if they wanted to deport him, they could have deported him. But what happened was it was, number one, illegal to send him back to El Salvador. That was what the court ordered in 2019 because it would be too dangerous for him. He escaped gang violence at the age of 16, came to America and did a bunch of jobs. And by the way, it's not very unheard of that someone who escaped gang violence from El Salvador at the age of 16 and worked hard labor his entire life would be involved in domestic abuse. That does not give a pass for it, but the guy had a pretty shitty life, and it seemed like he made a somewhat of a way with it.
Let's be honest. Arguing that working
landscaping
and doing things is not a reason to beat.
No. I'm just saying that I know people who have been through much less, who have done much worse, and that's one of the reasons we can't just say, hey, this person is an alleged whatever, we should send them to a torture camp, because that's worse than the death penalty. That's torture, and slavery. But like, that's the thing. Never being charged with it, it just everything people do to justify what happened. They could have. It was illegal to send him back to El Salvador, okay, because of the gang violence. They could have deported him easily to a third country that would have been safer for him. Easily, that would have been easy for them to do that. But now they need to justify that he's a gang member and MS-13 and send him to El Salvador. And they might bring him back to not violate the Supreme Court and just deport him to a third country like they should have the first time. But regardless, what they've done is insane.
The Salvadorian president, as he said in the Oval, I don't mean to interrupt, I apologize. But the El Salvadorian president in the meeting at the Oval Office said, "What am I supposed to do? Go illegally bring this person back into the country?" When I forget exactly his words, but he said something to the effect of, "I'm not going to smuggle him back into your country. He's a citizen of my country." Does that change the, I guess, perspective on what's going on here?
The fact that America is paying El Salvador, a country that has the GDP of probably half of Atlanta or half of Philadelphia, the fact that we're paying them and the fact that we sent this person to them to be in this labor camp, the Trump administration would essentially just be violating the Supreme Court order at that point, because they have more than enough power to get him sent back to America to go through the proper proceedings. So like, that's what I would say there. The Trump admin would just be admitting that they don't care about law in America, and then we'd be in a constitutional crisis at that point. And like, obviously, if Bukele, they've already sent people back, by the way, because I think we sent women there by accident. But yeah, it's easy to get someone back, and the arguments they made, like Trump and Bukele were sitting next to each other, like, well, I can't send him back, and I can't send him back. Who can send him back? We don't have the power to. It's like, okay, guys, like,
It's a straw man argument in a way, that's for sure. Not from you, I mean from them. I get it. Let's get back to Doge for a second. So, I guess, okay, not Doge. Let's go the Trump administration as a whole. Do you have any positive affirmations for what they've done in this administration for the last 4 or so months, since January 20th?
So right now, our spending this year.
Sorry, a year and 5 months. Jesus, what the hell am I talking about?
Our spending right now is higher spending than the past 2 years in government. So we're increasing our deficits. We're passing another big tax cut for the ultra wealthy mainly that we don't need to do. We could just cut taxes for the working people and for middle class people, but we need to give a huge break to the wealthy, of course, so the donors get what they paid for. That's going to increase the deficit. We fired IRS agents, which is going to add another $400 billion to the deficit because we lose our ability to get taxes from really high earners that hide their money. We're going to have a huge deficit this year, probably double what it was last year, or at least like 50% bigger than it was this year. We're increasing the military budget to $1 trillion. We're illegally bombing places in Yemen. We're basically acting as another wing of Israel to help them with Iran and Yemen, but it's complicated with Iran and Russia, so it's a little bit different. Trump said he wants to make Gaza real estate. He doesn't even say there's people there. He just says it's a nice piece of real estate. Trump is violating due process and
I mean, in all due respect,
it.
My friend, I appreciate all these things. That there's a lot.
I just don't know. I'm just going through like there's not one.
Asking, is there
is not one good thing
mind?
Trump has done. No, there is not one thing Trump has done at all. The first administration, sure, but he has not done one thing good this administration though.
And in that first administration, what would you consider positive?
He signed the Bipartisan First Step Act. He made the USMCA. Well, his people made that deal, the trade deal with them. A couple other trade deals that he now hates. Apparently, the ones that he made. He keeps on saying, "I don't know what idiot made these trade deals." It's like, bro, you made the trade deals. But yeah, those were fine. I think targeted tariffs could work if you have actual manufacturing. So I think Biden actually finished what Trump intended to do, but through actual legislation. I'd probably say those things are fine.
And you can find nothing in the last year and a half of this administration that you find positive.
No, I mean, he made corruption more legal. Then he's cutting benefits from people and cutting taxes for only the wealthy, or for mostly the wealthy, and increasing our deficit. Everything he's done so far. I mean, do you see that tourism's down 20% in America? We're losing hundreds of $billions in tourism revenue, which is going to hurt the deficit in American businesses. The tariffs, Trump looks like a dumbass talking about tariffs, taxing the American people through tariffs, and small businesses are dying because of tariffs. And I see layoffs left and right near me because of the tariffs. It's just like, he said egg prices are down 94%. They're still high as shit. Like he seems so disconnected from reality. I don't know if he's even like sentient anymore. He sounds even the same or worse than Biden.
Now, in the Biden administration, where was your thought process on their actions during that administration? I mean, as a whole, it's a hard question to ask, but.
So when it comes to manufacturing, Biden increased our manufacturing of semiconductors and our ability to go after precious earth minerals. He increased our capacity by around 10 times what it was before, the biggest manufacturing boom since the New Deal from FDR. We're going to see those factories pop up, and Trump's going to get credit for those because he's just going to say he did it. But Biden did that through the Chips and Science Act. China's killing us with battery production and clean energy. Biden's Inflation Reduction Act focused on green energy. Biden got the infrastructure bill done that Trump claimed he wanted. Biden got a bipartisan infrastructure bill done to get billions of dollars back into our states to rebuild our infrastructure to catch up to China. I think Biden was too weak on addressing the border topic directly and giving a strong message about it and doing like a border bill earlier. He waited too long. And by that time, it was easy for Trump to just tell him to kill it. So when it comes to manufacturing, Biden did what Trump wanted to do, and I don't know why Trump is killing the CHIPS Act and all that kind of stuff. But But yeah, policy-wise, I'm pretty happy with what Biden did domestically. Like policy-wise, he tried raising taxes on
And what
corporations, but he
policies
couldn't.
what policies are you most favorable towards?
The infrastructure bill is really good. I like investing in chips and semiconductors. We need that to compete with China, and also the batteries and green energy. China's killing us right now in all those categories. That was like the anti-China package, and Trump just killed it. So yeah, those are the big main. And being pro labor and pro union. Biden was the most pro union president in probably what year is it? 2025, and probably literally 60 years probably. So I like that he was pro labor too.
I agree with that. I think that there's obviously a need to be, from a federal perspective, pro-union. I have my disagreements and qualms about, what certain unions have the power to do.
Yeah, sure.
And the influence that they have upon decision making within the bureaucracy. It can be difficult. But I appreciate everything you said. I think that there's a lot there, and I also think that these are questions that need to be asked, less than a debate, more of just where do people stand and how do you feel about it? And I'll tell you, I'll touch on a couple of things that you said. With those, I already said this, and I'm going to say it one more time, which is I agree that there is massive bloating in the federal government, and it needs to be cut. It needs to. We should not be spending money on certain craziness or the amount of money we're spending on certain things, period. And I don't think any tax-paying citizen would advocate for, the chat's going to laugh, luxury toilets in an embassy. Okay? It's ridiculous. The expenses that we've had and the amount of money that we spend is insane. I also think the way that they're doing this right now is creating a vacuum towards some level of, I don't want to use the word, some level of individual control of the government. Let's put it that way. And it scares me. It scares me to think that a president, we all know the song when we were children. I'm Bill. Now I go to the Senate. Now I go to now I go to the House. I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but we all know the song. We learned that in second grade. And I fear that even though, in my opinion, these budget cuts and things are great on paper for me as a tax-paying American, maybe pay less taxes, whatever the case may be. But to think about what this could lead to is a scary thing, that we can essentially have the president be friends with the most powerful man, the richest man in the world, who's best friends with the most powerful man in the world, and they just decide things in a closed room, and then a piece of paper is signed as an executive order, and he's like, yeah, that's what we're doing. I think it's very scary, even though a lot of the things that he's done I appreciate. And I'd like your touch on what I just stated. What you think about that?
I think from a messaging perspective, government needs to just act less, less pretentious. Because like the toilets are definitely frustrating. I definitely agree. But then when you look at like a $50,000 toilet or a bathroom renovation, which definitely should not be done, that's like, I don't even know what small of a fraction of $1 million, or $1 billion, or how much how much of a budget was allocated versus used and misused, and that's probably a very small part, and the same as personnel. My big thing, like, I definitely want to cut down on that and make sure that there's not people in positions that are going to be doing that. It's happening to a much worse extent now. I would definitely refer to the events that, our government's kind of being sold, like picked apart and sold to private industry, which I don't think is good. I think some things need to be done by the public good, because private companies are going to screw us over way more than government will. So things like healthcare, I wish we had a more, and that's a big thing too. Like, I think
that's a whole nother debate, my friend.
Yeah, but like when we talk about the federal government and taxes, our taxes compared to Europe and every other first world country are pretty low. But when it comes to like China, for example, China is a state command economy. Their government can use all of their resources for whatever they want. They can do whatever they want with currencies. They could do whatever they want. That's why they could build such big infrastructure. That's why their electric cars are killing us right now. Their green energy, their semiconductor, like everything about them is refined, and they can move things in any direction they want to at the push of a button or whatever. And there is no private property there, right? I mean, there is there's a type of private property, but nothing's really completely 100% private, obviously. And we sacrifice that in America, which I think is a good trade-off. We have the benefits from government and the benefits provided by government. But sometimes we need to pay more in taxes in the federal government, but we need to be very clear when we do that there is a very clear objective. Because I think the tariffs are showing that many Americans are willing to pay more in some regard if they see the return, if they get a clear vision of what the future is going to be, if they know why we're doing it. So we need that messaging. We need that clear vision. We need, like, if Americans are getting taxed more for healthcare, if they have to pay a higher mandate for healthcare, then every American should probably be covered, just like the European countries do. I don't know why these poor countries can cover all their people and their people live 8 years longer, but meanwhile we're paying out the ass to both the government and the private companies. We're paying to both because Obamacare made us pay both. So it's like we need to pick options for everything.
Most of the countries that offer those things most of those countries that offer great levels of healthcare are A, very homogenous, B, they have like a small fraction of the citizens that we have. And there's, I look at things like we can go back to healthcare just for 1 second. We look at the VA. It is the worst form of healthcare that you could ever have. I have many friends who have served in Iraq and Afghanistan, and they have a headache and it takes 2 weeks to get an appointment, and all they do is prescribe them 1,800 milligram ibuprofen. It's a failed system. And if we look at universal health care, what other option do we have to study as a case study?
Well, I could go through a couple different forms if you want.
You're waiting for 2 weeks for a headache?
Well, I can go through a couple different forms if you want me to, of healthcare, because there's different models. I would say first off with the so with the size of population thing, in Canada, okay, I'll start off with America. So in America, we spend per person in America $13,500 on healthcare. Okay, and we still have tens of millions of people who are uninsured or underinsured. Can you just like guess a number for what Canada pays per person? We pay $13,000 per person. Everyone's not covered.
I'm not gonna guess a number because I would just be pulling it out my ass. If you really want me to guess a number, I'd say 3,000 maybe.
Okay. So theirs is 7,000 a person. So they pay half what we do for healthcare. So they provide healthcare for more people. People live on average 6 years longer than they do in America, than we do in America, and they pay half the price. So when it comes to per person and having less of a population, we have far more resources. It would take a while to build up the capacity because they already had this for a while. I would also bring up the fact that rich people in America. This is a crazy stat. Rich people in America live shorter lives than poor people do in Europe. And poor people in America live like 6 years on average less than rich people do. So everything about our society, from the chemicals in our food, chemicals in the water, half of Americans live in conditions that are extremely high risk, air quality, because of companies dumping shit in random places. So first off, just with Canada versus the US, we pay so much money for healthcare, and we do not get the quality that we pay into it. So like that's a hidden tax. All the premiums and stuff people pay, even if someone has no healthcare, people might think that's a good thing, but eventually it's going to cost them probably more than it would have if they had insurance the whole time. So Australia is one example of a country, and you said the thing about being homogenous and not having as much like I guess influx of people or changing numbers of populations.
In that reference, I was referring more to the Nordic countries that have a very successful education and healthcare program.
Yeah, but then look at like Germany, right? Look at Germany's complaining about their immigration all the time, but they have a system that everyone's covered. So does Australia. They have a system where everyone's covered. So does like France. France has a childcare system that's crazy. Look up sometime the benefits France gives new mothers. France gives so much shit to new mothers, it's actually insane. And we don't have paid family medical leave in America. Guaranteed paid family medical leave. Every other developed country has that. And
I
it's
agree
like,
with
yeah.
you.
And now
But
Trump is
the
saying he wants to
question
give
becomes,
$5,000 per
okay,
kid.
sorry, continue.
No, Trump said he wants to give $5,000 per kid to people if they have kids. Just
That's
pay
what I
them.
was just going to ask about. How do you feel about that?
I have heard my entire life conservatives talk about how these welfare queens have all these babies to profit from the system. And now Donald Trump is going to say they actually want to pay people outright cash for having kids. My young self is mad.
Now, let me ask you a more theological question. What we have relied on for such a long time is federal subsidies for specifically single mothers, but let's just use the single mother example, right? You have more children, you get significantly higher government benefits, and that's all well and good. But the question becomes, is it worse to have a defined amount rather than using some social worker or bureaucrat to determine what they feel the amount should be for this family? Because that's where we find ourselves now. It's an allocation based upon one single person's opinion that just gets approved by whoever the higher up is at that point, and they get that money, whether it be from the state or the federal government. And here's my take on it. Having a set amount, that amount should go towards your your natal care, going through the birth, the cost of birth, and the amount of time that the mother has to stay at home to take care of that child. I think that $5,000 should go towards that. Let's use that $5,000 as an example. We have been subsidizing adolescence of children for a long time, and the federal taxpayer, in my opinion, should not be responsible for everybody's child unless it comes to aspects like healthcare. If you can't afford, in my opinion, and now I can expand on that, but in my opinion, if you can't afford to raise your child, it's not that you shouldn't have the child. Maybe adopt. There has to be an option here where the federal universal taxpayer is not responsible for a bunch of children and not every child, but if you can't afford your child, don't have the child.
I think we should be responsible for all of the kids in America, and I could tell you why. Okay, so I mean, I hear the logic from conservatives often that we should cut taxes for corporations because of trickle-down economics, being a big boost to the economy because they can have more ability to like give jobs to people and grow more. My argument would be that the people in our society are the value. I think raising a kid should be considered to be a job. Like in France, they pay you before you have the kid for like 3 months. They give you a huge benefit after you have the kid. They have universal childcare, I'm pretty sure, to make it a lot easier. And if you have this system where we have a society and a culture and a government that backs it up, that cares about raising kids, then you have less crime. Then you have less disaster. You have less mental health issues. You have less things that weigh down on the economy. You have less of a need for law enforcement and less of a need for prisons. You have more of a reason to have more schools and more opportunities. So when I look at the neighbor's kid, and this is why I'm pro paying higher property taxes, by the way. Like myself, I don't have kids, but I'll pay higher property taxes because I want those schools to be funded. Because I know if the schools aren't funded, I know this whole place is going to shit eventually. Because the schools are the foundation. The childcare is the foundation of our entire society. And there are stats behind this based on the quality of the water you drink, the air quality, the quality of education, the quality of opportunity, how much that correlates with the crime rate, with overall productivity. And that productivity goes into now businesses have a more productive work pool to pull from, to better people to interview. Then you have individuals who can fix more of their own objects, and we can sustain our properties better. We have communities where we feel safe and we support one another. And you have all these issues we complain about in society that we can prevent and create a culture where we just can build this strength. from the bottom, and now you know the neighbor's kid. If they do good, they're not going to be doing bad things. You know, you can trust that their kid's going to grow up and be your neighbor someday and be a good neighbor and be a positive contributor to society and have less people who are going to be pulling down society. So I'd say that is my argument for why it's beneficial for a selfish reason to invest in things like childcare. And even as a taxpayer, if we're going to pay all this money for Elon Musk to get billions of dollars in government contracts, damn right I want to give my tax dollars to a mother for childcare. You know what I mean?
I agree with you 100% with that last statement. What I think that maybe we have a disconnect in this case is where I think we have a disconnect is who is responsible for all of this? Is it the federal taxpayer? Is it 501c3s? Is it NGOs? I mean, where do we draw the line of funding going towards not children? I'm never going to advocate against the funding of, great education and great childcare. That's necessary. But like you said, to move the future forward. I also hate where that funding or what that funding has contributed to, which is, I mean, there's so many things to touch on. I think the biggest one, in my opinion, is trying to make it quick, my friend. I'm trying. I think the biggest one, the biggest problem in my mind, is that the normal person that's working hard, doing their thing every day, now has to pay for all of these other things. Where let's look at this. Okay, let's look at the African American community as a whole. That they have the highest poverty rate, they have the lowest education scores, yet the highest federal funding. How does that equate to government being something that is a beneficial commodity to them, rather than, really a deterrent? It doesn't. To me, it doesn't make sense that the highest funded areas are the lowest scoring.
Do you mean for like high schools or K through 12?
Sorry, one more time.
Do you mean like K through 12, high schools, middle schools, elementary?
Yep.
So our system, even if you get more federal funding.
I'm not trying to make this a race argument. I'm just saying from an urban community perspective.
No, this is like a completely valid question. So I'm well trained in policy, so I could definitely answer this, and I go to a lot of school board meetings and everything. So pretty much in America, like if you get more federal funding from the Department of Education, there's a good chance you're from a really shitty, poor area. And I'm allowed to say that because I'm from a shitty, poor area. So the areas that get more federal funding need it more for the worst reasons possible, right? So they have they have a bad tax base. They have probably deteriorating. It's getting late. Schools that are falling apart, deterioration. The schools that are dying. So and we could use Norway as an example. So Norway spends $18,000 per student on for education. Okay, the U.S. we spend $15,000 on average, but the issue is in the U.S. we fund our public schools mostly by local and state governments and mostly like property taxes. So in a poor area, the schools are going to suck. They will get more federal money to try and bring it up to par, but they'll still be really bad because they're underfunded and don't have enough resources. And then in rich areas, you have a huge wealth disparity. So you have one class of people who are getting really good education, another class that gets bad education, and then guess what? The poor kids can't move. They can't get opportunities. They cannot get jobs. That area becomes worse and worse and worse. The crime rate gets up because the schools suck there. And if you have shitty schools and it's a poor area, you're not going to have opportunities moving in. It means the chance of you leaving's worse because you have worse education, less opportunities. And that's like I mean, you should call in again. We can go into that, but just for this,
absolutely.
For this purpose, the Norway example, they spend $3,000 more per kid on public schooling, but that's not the most interesting part. Norway funds their education 100% from the national government. For us, that'd be the federal government, 100%. And Norway has better outcomes because the poor areas get the same funding as the rich areas. So there are not these pockets of people that are in these communities that are falling apart, that have high crime rates, where we just abandon them and then yell at them when they don't do good. Norway funds everywhere in a way that is merit based. You all get the same opportunity to be competitive. Everyone gets the same resources. In America, it's based on zip code. So what I would say to your answer for that, the reason the lowest test scores get the most federal funding is because our system sucks. The local governments segregating that is going to be largely segregated on race and class for reasons that date back in our history very, very long term. So if we wanted a more equitable education system that we save money in, it'd probably be to fund it completely through states or completely federally. Funding it by local property taxes is the dumbest way to do education. I have a huge issue with that, but it's hard to it's hard to find solutions because it's hard to find consensus on that kind of stuff.
I mean, it's fair. I mean, you also just stated that you'd be happy to pay higher property taxes to fund the education system. And, I don't think there'd be any, listen, property taxes are not fun, as you know. I don't enjoy them. But at the end of the day, it's a necessity, and it does fund good things.
Oh, think about this too. Really quick. I just thought about one thing. Sorry, I thought about one thing. So imagine like you have, like Martha's Vineyard, for example.
Of course.
So imagine you have Martha's Vineyard and all the rich people in society, all the elites live there, okay? And now they live in this special county in Massachusetts, and we fund our schools by property taxes. So all these rich people that should be paying higher taxes to help our country be better, which is the point of like the progressive taxation system and income tax. All these people, when it comes to education, if we don't have a Department of Education or another better way to do what they do with that, you have this island where all these property taxes don't go to any school anywhere. So the public schools in these rich areas are going to be all isolated, and they're going to get all this money. But all the billionaires in society, the Elon Musks, the Mark Zuckerbergs, the Jeff Bezoses, our education system, our public schools are being torn apart by these individuals that make money from because we, like, imagine like what I said before about it being an investment like education. We pay to educate the individuals that will work for Amazon. We pay to educate through K through 12 the people that will work for all these companies that all these billionaires own, but they don't pay into those property taxes. That's a huge, huge issue that we're paying to subsidize their workers. And then we know that if you work for Walmart, we're also paying for the Walmart workers' Medicaid for their health care. And Walmart's not paying shit for that. So that's another big issue, yeah.
Well, I agree with that, and we can go into major issues. I'm willing to talk to you for a long time, my friend. I like your perspective on things. Here's what I will say: you touched on billionaires, and this is one thing that I think a lot of people, especially us normal people, have a really hard time understanding what a billion is. And a million, if you put a second per dollar, a million seconds is 11 and a half days. It's 11, I'll look it up exactly. It's 11.57 days. A billion seconds is 31 years. And I think a lot of people, we throw this billionaire word around a lot, like it's a normal thing. And I'm just equating a dollar to a second. 11 days to be a millionaire. 31 years to be a billionaire. It's a number that's insane. And what I really think is that this tax code should have been changed a long time ago through multiple administrations, including the Clinton administration, and especially when Hillary Clinton was and I'm not going to get into, who's right or who's wrong for doing what they did, but the tax code should have been changed a long time ago. I truly believe that Trump got elected in 2016 solely because on that debate stage, he said, of course I take advantage of the tax code. And you know why everybody out here is mad at me? Hillary Clinton said, Trump doesn't pay taxes or whatever. And he goes, of course I took advantage of the tax code. Because it's there. Because I'm not stupid. And you know why they all hate me out in this crowd? Because every single one of them do it too. And if you really have a problem with it, why haven't you changed it in the last 30 years you've been in government, Hillary? I believe in my heart that that's the reason why he won that first election.
That's a hard one too, because Biden tried changing taxes to tax the wealthy more, and by more it was just like a little bit higher, and Republicans completely blocked it. And Trump is going to cut them even more. I just wish, like, that's why I'm going to vote for, like, that's why I think we need someone who's radical the other direction to actually do that, because I don't think any politician is actually going to raise taxes on the wealthy. And I see it as a power issue and a freedom issue, because if someone has all that money and power...
Are we talking about capital gain tax?
I'm talking about just in general. You could have alternative minimum taxes. You can raise yeah, you can raise capital gains without really affecting the market that much. Someone said like a transaction tax could be interesting to look at. There's a bunch of different ways to toy with it. I'm sure we could do a bunch of. It's really about the will to do it because we could find ways to do it. And we could find ways to. We need to do trust busting to break up companies. But the issue is the only and Biden did more trust busting than any president in like 50
But
years.
do we
too.
want to break up companies? Is that really the goal here?
I think we need to break up Meta and Google and Elon Musk's company should probably be divested. Broken up to different owners. I think having that much, if these were people, like we're in another Gilded Age. We need another Teddy Roosevelt or another. Yeah, Teddy Roosevelt's probably the best example because he kind of started the trust busting in 1900 early 1900s and.
Trust funds are a whole other issue. What do you think about a flat tax?
Well, monopoly. I'm talking more about just like monopolies and getting rid of monopolies, and that's why I think we need someone who takes no corporate dollars. And I'm gonna get people on this train eventually, but I think the only person who's gonna raise taxes on the wealthy is AOC, and I don't think anyone else is gonna. Maybe another Democrat will, but the only one who's actually gonna fight for it is gonna be our little activist social Democrat queen. So
That's fair. What do you think about AOC? Do you think she's going to run as a primary or run the primary?
Have you ever seen her documentary?
I did. Yep.
I think I like the idea that someone can come from being a bartender from a working class background and being a politician. That's my biggest thing with Trump is like, if Donald Trump,
inspirational story, if you look at it from that perspective, yeah, I agree with that.
I just want someone with that mentality because Trump was the opposite. He was a Jeffrey Epstein best friend, P. Diddy best friend. He donated to the Clintons. Like he's the most elite you can possibly get. Like I want an actual person who's from a real background to be in there.
He's admitted that he used to be a Democrat and then changed to Republicans when things started going the way that he didn't want it. And again, I'm an independent.
But that's like one of those things. I want one of us in there, and that's why I think she'll actually go for higher taxes on the wealthy. And she really moderated her politics in the past like 3 years. Like she doesn't talk about Green New Deal stuff anymore. That was more of just like she just got in there at like the age of like 27 or 28. She was talking about idealistic stuff. But her past few years, she's a lot more down to earth and she's very focused now. And I think she's pretty good with a microphone. And she's the only candidate who's going to be running who's not from an elitist background for sure.
Do you not think she's radical?
I think we need someone radically for people and radically for higher taxes on the rich right now. I think we actually need that. It depends what for.
Now, taxation on the rich, that's a hard topic because it can be broken down in so many ways. That's what I asked you earlier. I don't know if you heard the question. The question is, what do you think about a flat tax?
I think that would make the current system a lot worse. It would help the wealthy a lot.
So I guess that's where the question comes in. When the wealthy, as you stated, aren't paying their fair share in taxes, what if everyone pays the exact same amount? That the rich can't hide their taxes anymore. Every house sale is, let's just put a number out there, 15% or something of that nature, 20%. Everybody pays that, and that's just a universal tax code. Everybody pays the same thing, so there's no way to make shell companies. You can have different taxes for, I guess, businesses in my mind, but if it were a personal income flat tax, would that be something that you would be opposed to?
Well, you would need to. The reason I'd be against a flat tax is because the progressive income tax that we have right now will tax wealthy people at a higher rate than working class people, which I think is definitely needed. We should probably have a marginal rate that's higher than we should have right now, if you make over $1 billion, for example, it should be a higher marginal rate at that level for any dollar made above that amount. I'm against a flat tax because it would be very bad for the deficit. It would move tax burden onto poor people. It's a regressive tax, so that's why I'm against that. But in terms of like cleaning up tax loopholes, requiring that we have stronger assets reports, and other loopholes for how assets are moved around and wealth is hidden from the tax code. Maybe we could find some way. I know wealth taxes are very hard and don't work that well, but there are other ways to tax transactions from a corporation that I'm not going to go into now because I don't have my policy document prepared. There's like a land value tax that some people think of on the far left. There's a value added tax. There's a bunch of different ways to do it. But even right now, hiring more IRS agents is a really good thing because they go after rich people, especially if you assign them to go after rich people. Closing loopholes and all that kind of stuff is really big. But again, like we've talked about this forever, we need someone, in my opinion, who's radical enough, who really believes in it, who really wants to fight for it. And I think it's going to need to be someone who's really going to do that.
But where do the social policies come into become a federal spending issue?
Well, if we don't raise taxes, it's going to be an issue. Like right now, we should be at a budget surplus right now. If we even had the taxes that came, if we move back to Obama's tax code, we'd be in a great, like, it's so hard to go through spending because it really is a mix of spending versus money brought in. And then you look at national debt. The debt, what really matters in debt is the percent GDP to debt ratio. The debt doesn't matter as much as the money you bring in based off the investments. There are issues if you overexpend on debt, but it's really complicated based on, and if we lose the position of the world's reserve currency, there's some issues there. But our debt's like fine now. It's not anything insane yet. It can be, but.
So we took in $4.9 trillion. I'm just looking this up right now as I'm talking to you. We took in $4.9 trillion in 2022 tax revenue as a whole. 76% of tax revenue was paid by the top 10% of earners, and that's $167,000 a year, $169,000 a year. So 76% of 4.9 trillion from the top earners. So 4.9. Let me do that. Point times point. So I'm trying to do it on my computer. There we go. So that's $3.6 trillion a year just in the top 10%.
Okay.
And like I said, it was 76% of revenue. And I'm not trying to advocate for flat tax because there's so many different variables that come into play when we talk about that. But $3.6 trillion is way more than we would have brought in from the top 10% if we didn't have a flat tax. Let's put it that way.
One second.
Maybe I said that wrong. We brought in 4.9 trillion, 10% in total in 2022. 76% is 3.7 trillion dollars. And if we were to take the top 10% of earners and not let them get away with certain aspects of, I mean, even just going towards capital gains or losses, how can someone?
Well, that'd be something different. So, like,
buy one for $49 million and pay zero taxes. It doesn't make any sense. That's where I believe the flat tax comes into play. Now, I do think it would hurt the big boys. But when you hurt the big boys, all of a sudden it hurts the little guy.
No, but the flat tax hurts the little guy more. Okay, so this is something I think what you're thinking about, because the progressive taxation system's good because it taxes higher percentages for the rich, right? Like, do you like that part of that tax at least?
Of course. Absolutely.
So the flat tax you're talking about. So when someone says flat tax,
sell a building for millions and buy another one and pay them no taxes.
But when someone else says flat tax, they're usually talking about replacing income tax with flat tax, because then they're gonna get solve all the loopholes. It's not gonna be progressive anymore. But what I'm saying is, I think you more so mean a minimum tax. So you can have a progressive taxation system and then have a minimum tax. Definitely look up like what a minimum tax is, and there's different formulas for it. But you'd pay your income tax, and then there'd be a minimum tax for like corporations. And then it's a very standard system with pretty much no loopholes. And then you cannot avoid any of the minimum tax through any deductions or anything like that. So there's like a flat rate. So it's like a progressive taxation system with a flat tax built into it somewhere along the way, if that makes sense. So there's still progressive taxation, but you have to pay that minimum amount. You cannot go below that amount with all these loopholes.
It's a complicated debate, and I do agree with what you say. I think you have.
There's a lot of complicated stuff. It's more of, but that's what I said before. It's like a conceptual thing. It's just like we just need someone who, and I mean, I wouldn't trust them with economic policy. I don't trust anyone at this point. I don't trust myself. I don't know what to trust anymore. But we need someone who's gonna fight for it, and if they want to fight for it, they're gonna find a way. they're gonna find a way to do it. We just need someone who's willing to do it. And I definitely want to chat again. I'm gonna head to
We'll chat again,
probably.
brother. I'll let
But
you
yeah,
go.
yeah, call in again. If you have a Discord too, we chat in Discord every now and then.
Yep.
With our community. But yeah, really
It was a
enjoyed
great
this
conversation, brother. I appreciate the honesty. And,
yeah, definitely would love to talk about
it was a little
AOC too.
refreshing from the last conversation you had, I'm sure.
And I don't agree with everything AOC says either, or
Sure.
like Bernie or whatever. But I just know they take zero corporate dollars. They never have taken corporate dollars. They're from working class backgrounds, and we need more of that in politics. And I think they are principled in a way that's actually good, even if you think they're misguided in some ways. And we can talk about some like social justice warrior stuff too. But I think, yeah, I really enjoyed the conversation. I think this is good.
Yes, sir.
I think you'd be a good example of like a sort of like a swing voter who's actually in the center. Like you sound like an actual independent, which is actually pretty refreshing because usually independents are just like very right wing, and they just call themselves independents to look good, or they say I'm a libertarian, and then I'm like, but like, yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah, they're fake libertarians. All these libertarians who are just like Trump supporters, but they're like, I'm pro-liberty. Then it's like, well, the government's violating due process. Well, that's okay. It's like whatever. All right, yeah.
And I'll touch on this before we go real quick. I do want to touch on this for everybody watching real quick too. I think it's very important that we're able to come together and have these conversations and have different opinions clash. And even though I might not agree with you on some things and you don't agree with me on some things, there doesn't have to be animosity towards it, even though it's good content. I'll tell you that. I think that it's important to have this level of what you can even quote unquote call it a debate, but just an understanding of people's perspectives that I don't think gets portrayed much in social media specifically. Everything is so driven to the left or to the right, and it becomes so brainwashed algorithm level. Where all they see is one side, and then people tend to go towards that direction because that's all they see, but they don't see the other side. And it's always great to have conflicting opinions and discuss them. So I appreciate that, and thank you for the conversation, my friend.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, thanks. Like I said, we could have a couple topics next time as well. You can feel free to shoot me a message on that line.
Yeah, we'll do.
But yeah, thank you. Have a good night, man.
God bless you as well. Bye-bye.
See ya. See, that's a nice chill conversation. Wait, is Epoch in chat? I have a question to ask you about black people. Is Epoch here? Yes, Epoch's here. Thank God. I'm just kidding. No, I actually do have a question for the chat. I'm gonna switch it to subscriber only for a second. That's a good call. No, that's a good That's good. That's good. Like a good like podcast type conversation. Thank you guys for all the fan funding. Thank you, $5, Sam. I've been watching your streams for a month or two, and it's been interesting to see how Trump supporters think, so I can better argue against them. Thank you, Sam. Thank you. I think another portion is to make sure we remember. It's also about how to communicate to people because a lot of these are going to be a lot of the conversations we need to have are not going to be debates. It's going to be reaching out to people who are conflicted, who have heard other information from people who may have been lying. Maybe they have been misguided. Maybe they believe things that may not be true that we have to interact with them on. And some people are pretty reasonable, and the media makes us want to fight each other. So, like, some people who want to argue and fight you are probably not going to join the movement, but there are people we need to focus on who might. Yeah, thank you for the $5. Thank you so much. And also I got a $10 from L. Lee. Thank you so much for on Venmo. Thank you. I forget what you said. 1 second. Let me look. Yeah, if you want to donate, Jolah Politics on PayPal, Venmo, or Cash App. Jolah Politics, JOLAHPOLITICS. Ellie, thank you. And I don't ever say last names, guys. I usually say like a short version of your first name if you donate. Thank you so much. It says Jolah is the best. Thank you. Jolah is the best. I'm decent. Not that good. Drop a like, please subscribe. I do have a question for everyone though. Let me go to subscriber only mode. I don't know if I did that already. I did. Okay, subscriber only mode for 1 second. So AOC put up a tweet. All right. Hell. Oh, okay. Kel. It's the same name. L. I just said it. The L. Kel. See? L. Kel. L. Kel. Same thing. Okay. Okay, this is a question we need to have really quick. A discussion I need to have with you. I'm very curious about this. Is Epoch here? Epoch's not here. Wait, is Epoch here? Who am I gonna ask? Who am I gonna ask this question to? Who am I gonna ask? I just added Epoch in the Discord. Join Discord, guys, by the way. Join Discord. I need to ask Epoch a question. Okay, so AOC put this up. Okay, I'll pull it up really quick. Where is it? Where is it? AOC is gonna run for president, bro. She's gonna run for president. She is going to run for president, brother. Guaranteed. The way she's been posting, she's running for president. We know this. Okay, I'm trying to find this tweet. I'm not sure how far down it is. I think it's on this one. Or is this her campaign account or her government one? Oh, wait. No, that's her government one. This one's her campaign account. Whatever. AOC, black. Okay. This is the conversation I wanted to have really quick. So AOC says, do not let them trick you into thinking that we can be separated into rural and urban, black and white, and Latino. Okay? I don't want to make an opinion on this yet until I hear some responses. Okay, so do not let them trick you into thinking we can be separated. All right? Do not let them trick you. We cannot be separated. All right? Do not let them trick you into thinking we can be separated, okay? We cannot be separated. We cannot be separated into rural and urban, black and white, and Latino. Okay, but in this post, black is capital, Latino is capital, but white is not capital. And I know why. I know what the reasoning is behind this, okay? I know why. Okay, I know why black and Latino are capital and why white is not capital. I know why. I know the academic reason. But my question is this what we need to be doing right now? Should we just make them all lowercase? Should we? Genuine question. Because I don't... What do you guys think? What do you think? I've really been thinking about this today. I'll receive your question. Are there more people of non-whiteness in chat? That's probably more that's more racist than any other way of non-whiteness, dude. That's crazy. That's crazy, dude. Okay. No, but still. You think it's division? Separation? We don't need any division? Do you think this is divisive? Do you think this is divisive? Because I assume it's because black people shared experience, Latino shared experience, right? Shared experience. That's the thinking behind it, I think. Am I right about that? Let's see. Let's why? I'm pretty sure that's right. Why is Latino and black capital but not white? Black and Latino are often capitalized because they are seen not just as racial categories, but as cultural identities and shared experiences, especially in the context of systemic oppression, heritage, and community. AP News uses black in all caps, and they began doing it in 2020. So it's a virtue signal, huh? So is it a virtue signal? The AP and others do not capitalize white in most contexts because it lacks the same shared history of cultural identity and oppression. There's also a concern that white with a capital W has been used by white supremacist groups to signal racial solidarity. Chicago Manual of Style uses white and black capital, and Columbia Journalism Review have them as capital to acknowledge that white people can also have a racial identity shared by history and privilege. Black and Latino capitalized for cultural, historical, and social reasons. White is usually lowercase to avoid aligning with white nationalist language. Okay, so if we're gonna say that capital white means you might align with white nationalist language, and then black and Latino are capital because of the cultural, historical, and social reasons, wouldn't you just like not capitalize any of them at that point? Like, this is dumb. It is dumb. People use B for black people. Just use the all lowercase. Like, I really do think. I mean, this is Team AOC. Is that her thing? Or the AOC campaign? It's probably a staffer. It's definitely a staffer. That's the thing, though. Is she gonna crack down on her staffers? I know she took pronouns out of bio. She took her pronouns out, so. Let's see. Let me type this out real quick. If I'm writing a post, we need to unite under shared visions of the future. Okay. No more division along. I can't spell. Division along racial or class lines. Okay. All cultures belong, whether all cultures belong, whether white, whether white, black, Latino, others, etc. We need to unite under shared visions of the future. No more division along racial or class lines. All cultures belong, whether white, black, Latino, others, etc. See? That's how you do it. Is this a real question? It is a real question, because apparently it's enough to be put in a social media page. The economy, stupid. Why did she remove pronouns? AOC remove pronoun. Okay, so please drop a like and subscribe, by the way, and donate to Jolah Politics on Venmo, Cash App, or PayPal if you want to make me a happy boy. Someone did. Sri, I didn't see Sri earlier. Wait, was that yesterday? That was yesterday. Well, thank you from yesterday. That was the 23rd. Well, thank you for the other day. Why is the white for? Oh, you're right. Oh, crap. Yeah, no, whether black, Latino, others. This okay. We don't need white in here. Others, etc. Okay, so pronouns. I think see, I don't want to give my opinion because the woke mob might cancel me. The woke mob. Okay, so I think it's really dumb to announce yourself in a new area doing land acknowledgement and pronouns for every single person as a standard. I think you should give yourself an opportunity to introduce yourself and let anyone share what they want to share. I don't like the idea that we're going to force people to say pronouns all the time, especially because, a lot of trans people don't want to say their pronouns all the time in every single engagement. And you could just say, hey, if you have something to share about yourself, then please share it. It's just like, trans people, gay people, some of them say wives and husbands. Like, I'm pretty sure Pete Buttigieg says husband. He doesn't say partner. So it's like, it's one of those things that kicks people out of the movement when they don't need to be kicked out for no gain, for no like clear purpose. And sometimes you need to meet people where they are. And I was watching Pod Save America. I don't really watch. I mean, I guess I watch them as just like I watch political content all day, so sometimes I watch them. Not my go-to, but Sarah McBride was on there. I recommend. I put that on my Discord. And by the way, join Discord. I'll hop in there and chat for a few minutes after I get off here. Sarah McBride was on there, and Sarah McBride was speaking about how Barack Obama being anti-gay marriage or same-sex marriage, marriage equality going into being president, him not being for it and then becoming in favor of marriage equality was a very valuable thing for the American public to see. And Sarah McBride, who is our first trans member of Congress, of U.S. Congress, theorized, what would the world look like today for gay rights, for LGBT rights in general, okay? What would the world look like if we cut out people in 2008 over like marriage equality, Sometimes you need to meet people where they are and continue that activism, pushing towards the goal to get a better result in the future. So there's a lot of stuff to consider there. See, I would also say just in general that definitely listen to people from different communities for sure. But you can also pick a strategy that makes more sense. So like, let's say you have different strategy inclinations about talking in a certain way. I would never discount voices in general. I would definitely inform myself from different areas. But you don't need to accept every single person's strategy or opinion on how to communicate just because they are a part of a group. Although I would say your final conclusion of best practice or best strategy probably should be reinforced by the group you're talking about. You don't need to listen to every single person's opinion, obviously. You don't need to listen to Candace Owens. Wait, what is a CG? A cool guy, right? It's a cool guy administration. Okay, what happened? A Coast Guard Academy graduate posted this. They're reporting that ICE entered base housing and took a Coast Guard spouse. Is that true? Hi everyone. Received this message from a CGA classmate sharing that the wife of an active duty CG crew member got taken by ICE on a base holding today. My classmate received this news. Did ICE? Ooh, ICE is crazy. This is nice, bro. I love corruption. Okay, guys. Thank you for dropping likes and subscribing. Thank you for another good night. 2 nights in a row. 2 good nights in a row. Thank you for the callers as well. Thank you, Kyle. Any list of individual cultures? Yeah, I don't know why you need to list any, because it's like, okay, so AOC brought up black and what is it called again? Her one account for AOC? Team AOC. AOC brought up her team, okay, probably a staffer, said black, white, and Latino. It's like, just say rural and urban, or class lines, or race. I don't know, culture, or by culture, or by who you worship. I don't know. You're not gonna say whether rural and urban, suburban and Buddhist and Christian or Muslim, or like you're gonna leave out people regardless. So use broad language here. Because why would you not include Asian Americans or Native, or Indian, or there's a whole list of different people you're not including here. So who do you pick to list on here? I mean, I guess I don't know. Open the line, we have a bite. No, I'm going to bed. I'm tired. I'm going to bed. I'm going to bed. I'm tired. I'm going to bed. Sorry. I'm sorry. You guys go to bed. You go to bed. I'm gonna chat in Discord for a little bit. Okay, join Discord. I gotta go to bed. I explained the other night why I need to have a sob story for you to donate to me. No, but like I've been. If anyone was not here before, like last night, I need to actually get sleep. Apparently, my body's shutting down the past few weeks, which is why I did not stream for a few days for a while, because everything is falling apart. Because I'm busy all the time about everything, about politics, for real life, for work, for. I was at a school board meeting for 3 hours the other day. Okay, I don't have kids. I was at a school board meeting for 3 hours, so my brain is fried. But yeah, I gotta go to Discord bed. Debate for like 5 minutes. LOL. No, if you want to call in, guys, if you're trying to call into the show, I see a couple people. Call in tomorrow. I'll stream at tomorrow's Friday. Is tomorrow Friday? Let's say I'll definitely be on by 10:30. I might start at 9 p.m. tomorrow if I don't get busy, but let's just say I'll be on by 10. Okay, by 10:30 for sure. So call in. Come back tomorrow to call in. Might start earlier. If I plan to start earlier, join Discord. I always ping Discord. Best way to stay connected. I'd rather, if you have Discord too, I'd rather you call in through Discord. It's easier to call in through Discord. Take a nap beforehand. I can't, dude. If I fall asleep, it's hard for me to fall asleep. It's actually terrible. Tomorrow is Friday. Yeah. Thank you. Get some rest. So nice. We got some new viewers. I suck. Thank you, buddy. And we've been bleeding viewers too because I'm on subscriber only mode. Maybe I just had to leave the channel for a few weeks and then, I have viewers again, Maybe I just have to take a break for like a week or two in between streams. And then I tonight and last night actually had decent viewership, so we'll take it. All right, guys. Have a good night. Thanks for watching. Thanks for liking and subscribing. Thanks for the donations. Thanks for the channel membership. Someone bought a gifted sub earlier too. Did Sri buy that? Is that what I saw Sri get tonight? Thank you, Sri, for the gifted membership. Thank you again. I thought I saw that. I thanked you for the Venmo donation instead for a second time. How many donuts for an Oxy tattoo? At least 2. Thank you for another $5, Sri. With an American flag. Thank you again. I just saw that now. Thank you. Thank you. Really quick, this person donated to me. I did not respond yet, but they said they donated to me on PayPal and they said, would you be interested in a partnership? Our company could pay you monthly based on performance and a set rate. I don't know if that person's still here, but they seem pretty confident. They've donated for me. They've donated to me for a few months now, by the way. So it's a real person. They never tried like getting a brand deal or anything before, so that's like a new thing. Hutch with his new cut. I need a break too. Yeah. For this climate. All right, guys. Again, good night. Have a good night. Shout out from Philadelphia. Shout out 76ers, bro. Boom, boom, boom. All right, guys. Thank you again. Have a good night, everyone. Thank you. Vandred, if you ask me that every day, I'm gonna ban you, by the way. You can do late all you want, but if you do that, you're getting banned. I'm not gonna lie. No, but anyone who does that's getting banned. I'll show you my baby pictures. My hair is definitely thinning out for sure, but I've always been bald since a young age. I actually saw a picture of me playing baseball as a kid, or like basketball or something, and my forehead is huge. My forehead is huge in that picture. It's actually kind of scary how big my forehead's always been. So I started the race off in last place, and it's just going downhill from here. All right. It might be Elon. True. Okay, thank you, mods. Thank you, Kyle. Thank you, channel members. Thank you, Christine. Thank you, Kate. Thank you, Vandred. Thank you, Suri. Thank you. Was I bald then? No, I'm going bald now. But I'm saying that my hair right now is pretty consistent with the hair I've had since middle school. I've always just had a big ass forehead. LOL. But now it's thinning out, so it's gonna... I wish I had one of those... Like, if I had a down low hairline, it would be fine right now, but... I'm gonna pay for hair plugs if I survive the revolution. Go to Turkey? Exactly. Let me talk for an hour. Okay, I'll go to bed. Stop Trump. Yeah, stop Trump. Good job, Carly. Thank you, members. Thank you, subs. Thank you, donators. Thank you. See you guys tomorrow. Thank you. Good night. Good night. I'll be in Discord chat. Guys. Good night. I'll be in Discord for like 20 minutes. See you there if you want to chat. If not, I'm going to bed. Good job. Good night, guys. Thank you for watching. See you.